Welcome to the stream. Um, Enough talking about glasses and contacts and all, and my blindness. Welcome to the stream. Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday. I thought I thought my brain was gonna be able to come up with something after I said it's Tuesday. Alas, it didn't. Nothing came to mind. Improv skills, trash. But that's to be expected. That's nothing new. Everyone knows this, especially myself. All right, so yeah, welcome to the stream. It's Tuesday Higurashi reading. Hey, remember like a week and a half ago or something, I started saying like, hey, on the last Saturday of the month, I'm probably gonna have a work event at night, most likely, so that I wouldn't be able to read Higurashi. And then like half a week ago, I said, no, I finally checked and that thing didn't happen and it got moved to a Friday and we're totally fine. New update, that's still true and accurate. But then I forgot that a convention is happening that weekend that I'm most likely, I don't know for sure. I'm gonna have to double check. I haven't like bought tickets or anything. But I think I'm gonna be attending. Possibly. I have to check. Engage my actual interest. It's kind of like one of those things that I don't have to decide until like way late anyway, probably. But I totally forgot that I don't go, especially at this point in my life, I don't go to a ton of conventions, but the fact that it's so relatively close to me, right? It is so relatively close as far as distance and location wise. And it's a good excuse, especially if other friends are able to make it, to just hang out on a Saturday. And I've got a friend who does the whole convention rotation thing now full time, basically full time as her job for art and stuff. So, and she's gonna be there, so I should probably make it to see her as well. So I say that all to either say I'm gonna be out that Saturday night or out all day Saturday. And then if that's the case, but if I'm still home Saturday night by chance, by some miraculous chance, don't know how much energy, if I'm being 100% honest with myself, how much energy I'll have to stream, especially Higurashi, where then I'm gonna be talking a bunch. Not to make it sound fucking labor intensive or anything, but like I'm definitely one of those big shock, big surprise. But definitely one of those big introvert type people where like a situation or an event like that I go to just saps and depletes the social and all other types of energy I may have. And then, and it like physically makes me tired. That resulting energy loss makes me massively tired. And then, although it's pretty low, streaming does take just a little bit of energy. Not a lot, clearly. It's not like I put too much effort into things, clearly, but it requires a bit of energy to function. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll know closer and I can officially confirm. But if you're watching live, just prepare for the last Saturday of the month, which I think is the 31st. May not be a Higurashi stream. And if the Friday before I have the work thing, it's not going to be so simple that I can just move normal Higurashi Saturday to Higurashi Friday. And then, because then there won't be streams on Friday either, if that's not clear yet, as well. And then I don't stream normally on Thursdays. So then, and Higurashi Tuesday is already thing. So there's already like, I mean, I'm not concerned about, oh no, I'm missing one Higurashi stream. Like that's built in, that's baked in. But I just trying to set ample expectations, right? That's to the best of my ability. And then, so if you're watching live, don't maybe expect one then. If you're watching archived on YouTube, just understand that at that time frame, when you would normally see like a Higurashi stream uploaded on YouTube and published, like, on a Tuesday or Monday or something, usually is when that usually gets up. It just might be none then. There will probably be some other stream uploaded that day, but don't be surprised when you're like, oh, where's the pretty semi-frequent Higurashi streams? Because that's where it is. One other thing while I'm talking about it, since I was talking about YouTube, so it just reminded me. I woke up this morning to YouTube alert and also email saying that yesterday's stream of the Boruto DLC Naruto game, finally putting the Ninja Storm series that has taken 4 years to do on the channel here. The DLC, apparently there was a cutscene in there that lasted like 30 seconds long that was apparently too close to an actual movie cutscene or scene or whatever the fuck. So close that then it got copyright claimed, which normally I don't really care. Let's be 100% honest. Most games I feel like I stream at this point end up getting some kind of copyright stream, and I'm just too tired to deal with YouTube's thing. The only problem I care about is what ended up happening here. So, like, I don't have to go on the whole long thing, but I think most people know at this point YouTube's copyright system sucks ass, and it's broken in so many ways. But, like, I don't really care. The only reason I really care is when it impacts actual viewing. If someone claims it and then they're like, we're going to monetize your video for you, even though you don't see a cent of money from YouTube, at this point, we're going to put ads in the front of your video. But true story, if you ever see ads on YouTube from my videos, I'm pretty sure that's not my doing. So I would never openly endorse, like, ad blockers or anything. But that's besides the point. That might be just ads YouTube puts, I guess, at the front, or it's, like I said, the copyright claimers get to put those ads at the front of my views or whatever, or videos or whatever. But what I'm saying is, this one was blocked from viewing completely. And I was like, oh, it's a real fucking bummer. So what I did was I went to the editing and I just took out a little clip of it, the clip that it was saying. And now the funny thing about YouTube, when you do take out parts, is there sometimes, and I've done this before, they will just claim a different section chunk of the thing, and they're just going to keep redoing it and finding a new part. It's kind of weird in that they don't just do it all at once. It's a very weird system they have. But I just took out the section. Seems like it's going to be fine, I think. There's just a random chunk missing out of it, but it is what it is. And I know there's a chance that the Higurashi listeners don't care, but I thought I'd say it here. I cover all bases constantly. Now, did I even say what the conventional is? Sand Japan in San Antonio, Texas. That's right. I'm a dirty Texan. I'm sad about it too. And help, it's too hot here. Help, I'm melting. I'm melting. Alright, so what happened last Saturday in Higurashi? Oh, I know. Our girl, Rina, got, for lack of a better term, poisoned by Takano. Yup, that's right. That blonde-haired woman named Takano. Mio Takano? Takano Mio? Reared her ugly head and decided to poison the well that is Rina. Get her on that conspiracy train. Chugga 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 choo choo. You lent some reading materials to Rina. Rina went down a spiral, potentially. trying to think if there was more to say. Why the hell am I talking about melting by the weather more than what happened on Saturday? It was kind of long and drawn out. It felt kind of long and drawn out. There was a lot of her being like, "Oh, this is the curse and the curse," and oh, she ran into Oishi as well, so she's getting these double outside influences now. Oishi and Takano. The murder took place. The murder of Tomatake, the supposed murder of Takano. Oishi starts his investigation, trying to figure out the cause, the problem, who done it. There was a weird little blip about, I thought, coming from Oishi's perspective, talking about like, man, no matter how many times I, try to figure something out, whatever. Now, I did there was something I potentially want to correct myself on. Maybe I was trying too hard to come up with a theory, and I was so lost in the potential that, especially with the potential Rika stuff, maybe I was misreading it. Maybe I was hoping too much, but it came to me the last couple days. I only realized sort of now that he maybe was talking about. Okay, so at the time I said, "Oh, is he like?" Half of it was me making a joke poorly, but I was saying like, "Oh, is Oishi like aware of all his other attempts in this time frame of trying to solve the case and his failings and the people he's talked to and everything?" And I think I was going on that path because we've seen Oishi now confront different members of the club at different times, and obviously succeeding or failing constantly, right? And at the time, like, oh, jokingly, somewhat being like, oh, is he some kind of like otherworldly being, and he's going different timelines trying to solve the case at this during this specific time frame, this 5th year of the curse or whatever. And he's like trying to do this thing. But then after stream ended, and then I have clear head like on Sunday and Monday and stuff, I was thinking about it. And I was like, oh, that could have totally been him just saying past years. Like, this is a case he's been thinking about for years when every time it comes back to the Wadnagashi Festival. So it might not be that he was talking about the 5th year and all of his different attempts on the 5th year. It might be every subsequent year at the Wadnagashi Festival time frame, right? Because he's talked about how this is like a case he really wants to solve before he retires. And if it happens year after year without him being able to stop it or solve it, that would make a lot more sense. So, I mean, I don't want to rule out the interdimensional multi-timeline traveling Oishi theory I've already posited. Like, it's such a dumb, goofy, fun theory that it'd be a shame, honestly, to abandon it at this point. If only just for having I gotta have at least a chamber full of some goofy theories equipped on my person at all times. But it would make a bit more sense if he was talking about subsequent years, you know what I mean? But who knows? Maybe I was right originally. Maybe I should have just doubled down on that. Who can say? There you go. Kind of a bad recap. And a correction to myself. Not the strongest situation. Alright, let's read a section tonight here. I don't know when. I don't know if it's going to be exactly halfway. Well, obviously I wouldn't know when it is halfway. I guess I should say I don't know if it's going to be after like an hour or so. But at some point, unfortunately, I might have to take like a quick little pause in somewhere in between this to take care of something. But that means I'm just gonna do like a weird BRB, because normally we do BRBs on Saturdays in between sections, and the thing is, I don't know when it's gonna happen, and that's as vague as I have to be about it. I'll just leave the vagueness there, and then you can wonder about, like, what the hell is happening in my life, you know?
すまなかった、レナ。
Oh, we gotta turn that down just slightly. Alright, Kechi. I should apologize, Rena. Oh, I clicked out.
俺はどこかでレナの話を疑ってたよ。
I don't think I believed you.
本当にすまない。
I'm really sorry about that.
いいよ、ケイチ君。
Gonna move the mic down a little bit. It's okay, Kechi-kun.
そのおかげで待ち伏せをやり過ごせたんだしね。
I'm just glad we didn't get caught.
あいつらは何者なんだ。
Who are they?
そのお社様信仰を復活させようとする信者の集団の手先。
Are they pawns of those religious fanatics who are trying to revive the cult of Oishiro-sama? Oh yeah, this was a thing. I completely forgot about this. Okay, so they were like separately walking home or something, and then Kechi bumped into the weird van of people who asked about, hey, were you walking with a girl? And then they were like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about us asking it. And that activated Kechi's like paranoia. Keiichi. So yeah, that was a thing that happened. Because he was like, why are random people in a van in the forest? That's not where cars should be. Are they looking for Rena? So I assume that's what he's talking about here.
彼らにはそういう自覚はないと思う。
I think they don't realize that they're pawns.
彼らを操っている黒幕はそうなんだと思うけどね。
But I'm sure the masterminds are using them as such.
多分、ダム戦争の当時から陰で様々な工作をしてきた連中なんだと思う。
They must be the ones who have been pulling strings behind the scenes ever since the dam conflict.
ダム戦争の最中に園崎家が裏でいろいろと暗躍したって話は俺も少しは聞いたことがあるな。
I heard that people working for the Sonozaki family did something similar during the dam conflict itself. Yes.
有名な話だよね。
Everyone knows that.
これは大石さんに聞いたんだけど、
Oishi-san told me that.
ダム戦争の最中に誘拐事件があったんだって。
That there was a kidnapping incident during the dam conflict.
これも秘密の事件なんだけど、なんでも建設大臣の孫を誘拐してダム建設中止の約束を裏取引したんだって。
The case hasn't been disclosed to the public, but anyway, someone kidnapped the grandson of the Minister of Construction, coerced the minister into promising to put a halt to the dam construction.
大臣の孫を誘拐？
The grandson of the minister was kidnapped?
おいおい、そんなの聞いたことないぞ。
Hey, I've never heard about that before.
大臣が犯人との取引に応じる姿勢を見せたため、事件を公にしないことになったんだって。
The minister submitted to their demands and they made a deal behind the scenes. That's why the incident never went public.
大石さんは当時、その事件に関わったから知ってるんだって。
Oishi-san only knows about it because he was in charge of the case.
うん。
Okay.
それで？
And?
大石さんが言うには、孫の誘拐や大臣の脅迫などの手口は恐ろしいほどに高度だったんだって。
According to Oishi-san, between kidnapping the minister's grandson and blackmailing him, their tactics were frighteningly advanced.
その事件は園崎家が命令を下したことだけは分かっているけど、結局未解決なんだって。
The police know that the Sonozaki family gave orders to the kidnappers, but the case still remains unsolved.
当時、園崎家の当主である園崎お涼は武装闘争の方針を打ち出していて、配下である暴力団組織の中に特攻隊を組織したそうなの。
At that time, the head of the Sonozaki family, Oryu, had announced a plan to fight against the dam project by force. She even formed a special attack corps using the Yakuza group that's under the Sonozaki family's command.
ダム計画の撤回がどうしても望めないときは、建設省に突入して武力制圧しようなんて、そんな物騒な計画を本気で練っていたらしいの。
She was very serious about this plan to put the Ministry of Construction down by brute force if she couldn't stop the construction. Everybody knows that the Sonozaki family tried to stop the dam project even if it meant breaking the law. Breaking the law, breaking the... So I wasn't so surprised to hear that she had a dangerous plan like that. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Mion who came up with the idea. Plan sounded just like her.
結局、その計画は計画のままで終わったんだけど、 それを実行するための特攻隊の訓練というのは行われていて、相当高度なものだったらしいよ。
Alright, I apologize, but I just want to reread something here. One sec. Okay. Okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what I was checking. In the end, the plan ended up as nothing more than that. But the Special Attack Corps actually did undergo training, and very high-level training at that. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay. Oishi. I'm a very bad reader tonight, apparently. Jesus. Oishi had uncovered the information right after the dam conflict ended. At the time, Oryu even said that if the village was going to be submerged, all members of the Onigafuchi Guardians would choose to stay in their houses and drown. So because Oryu was behind those things, I couldn't just laugh off the idea of an armed assault on the Ministry of Construction. According to the information Oishi seized, she planned a suicide mission as a last resort when the dam conflict started to heat up, in case the resistance wasn't successful. She had actually obtained weapons and put people through training for the sake of that plan. The Special Attack Corps were flown to America, having received a huge amount of money from Oryu for the operation. To America? In the southern desert of the United States, some retired military soldiers gave them highly professional training. While the plan was never carried out, the Special Attack Corps became a death squad under the direct control of Oryu after they came back from America. They were involved in many unsolved terrorist incidents, and they succeeded in kidnapping the grandson of the minister as well.
嘘みたいな話だな。
It sounds like it's from a movie or something.
みーちゃんがよくヘリの操縦から無線機まで何でもできるみたいなことを言うでしょ。
Do you remember how Mi-chan said that she could do anything from flying helicopters to using wireless radios?
あれは本当。
It's actually all true.
みーちゃんも当時その訓練に参加してるらしいよ。
It seems like Mi-chan joined in the training.
じゃああいつ本当に。
So that was all true?
まあみーちゃんの話はともかく、
Well, let's put that aside for now.
このひなみ沢には大臣の孫すらも誘拐できるだけの暗殺部隊が存在するってことだけは疑っちゃダメ。
Anyway, you have to at least believe that the death squad actually exists in Yamazawa, and they're capable of kidnapping the grandson of a government minister. I didn't take a close look at the four men in the white van today, but thinking about it, they did look professional in a way. They were pretending to be just taking a break, but I could tell they were tense the whole time.
それであいつらはレナの命を狙っているのか。
So, are they really trying to kill you?
多分狙ってはいないと思う。
I don't think so.
殺すだけだったら私もう殺されてるよ。
If they really wanted to kill me, I'd be dead already.
じゃあ狙いは
So,
まさかあれか。
so what do they want? Are they after
高野さんのスクラップ帳。
Takano-san scrapbooks?
圭一君が見た通り、連中は相当警戒心が強いみたいで、隙を見つけない限りは強引な手段に訴えてこないみたいなの。
Like you saw yourself, the group is very cautious. Unless we show them an opening, they won't resort to force.
だって強引な連中なら私の自宅の寝込みを襲えばいいんだから。
If they were the type to use force outright, they could have attacked me in my sleep.
それをしないってことは結構慎重だってことになるな。
They haven't done that yet, so that must mean they're taking it cautiously.
多分私がスクラップ帳を持っているという確信がないからだと思うの。
They're probably not sure that I have the scrapbooks.
彼らはミオさんを殺し、持っていたスクラップ帳をすべて処分しようとした。
They killed Mio-san and tried to dispose of them. Now again, we have the conflicting theory here, right? Is that we as the reader, at least me as the reader, assume that what's actually happened is that, again, we don't know why Takano is having these interactions with the kids. I don't know what her ultimate goal is. I don't know if I'm supposed to know it at this point, or if that's still a yet to be learned answer to the mystery. But my theory, at the very least, and what seemed to be hinted at, was that Takano killed Tomatake, faked her own death, and is just out and about. But now she's got Rina, and now in turn, Kechi here, thinking that mysterious people coming after them first kill Takano. It's very strange. What does she gain from all this? Why is she so weird? It just keeps coming back to the question, why is Takano so weird? But they found out that the most important ones were missing. They thought she gave them to someone because she knew her life was in danger. Now they think I'm the one who has them. But they're not sure, so they can't resort to violence.
Rena, お前、かなりヤバい橋を渡ってるんじゃないのか?
Rina, it sounds like you're playing a dangerous game. Yeah. I'm a bit scared. But they won't be able to erase me so easily. After all, I'm cooperating with Oishi-san. I've been frequently contacting him in case something happens.
そうだ、大石さんはどう言ってるんだよ?
What did you say about them? Or what did he say about them? He said he'd keep an eye on the Sonosaki family so that he could catch them right away, if they were working behind the scenes.
高野さんのスクラップ帳の話はしたのか?
Did you tell him about the scrapbooks? No. I didn't.
警察には話した方がいいだろう.
I think you should. He's an officer.
それに警察ならきっと力になってくれるぞ.
I'm sure the police will help you. Keiichi-kun. I can't even tell you the secret of this village because I'm not sure you would believe me. I don't think Oishi-san would believe me if I told him any of this.
なあ、レナ。
Reina.
もう煙に巻くのはなしだ.
Let's not make it more confusing than it already is.
話してくれ.
Just tell me.
一体何なんだ?
What is it?
何がスクラップ帳に書いてあるんだ?
What's written in those scrapbooks?
高野さんが消されるほどの何が書いてあるんだ?
What's the secret that killed Mio-san?
簡単に言うと、このスクラップ帳に書いてあることが事実なら、彼らの神が貶められることになるの。
Simply put, if the things written in the scrapbooks are true, the gods they worship will be dethroned.
神を貶める?
Their god dethroned?
そう。
Yes.
お社様の神聖性が失われてしまう。
The sanctity of Oishiro-sama will be lost.
だから、お社様信仰を復活させようとする彼らは、絶対に伏せたいと思っているの。
That's why they want to conceal the truth. They want to resurrect people's beliefs in Oishiro-sama.
すまん、レナ。もう少し分かりやすく言ってくれ。
Rina, can you explain it a little more simply than that?
つまり、どういうことなんだ?
I'm confused.
つまり、お社様は神様じゃないってことなの。
In other words, Oishiro-sama isn't a god.
神様じゃない?
He isn't? I had no idea what she read that made her so certain, but whatever it was, it'd be sacrilegious for people who believe so strongly in Oishiro-sama.
お社様の教えっていくつもあるけど、その原点はたったの一つしかない。
There are many teachings of Oishiro-sama, but the essence is as follows.
それは、中から出るな、外から入るなというもの。
Don't leave the village, and don't let anybody into the village.
この大原則を守るために、その他の教義を発展させたと言ってもいいくらい。
One could even say the rest of his teachings were developed to maintain those two fundamentals.
隣人を愛せとか、家内安全とか、縁結びの神様なんてのは、本当に後から取ってつけたものでしかないの。
It really wasn't until later on that they had added aspects like love your neighbor or viewing him as a god of marriage and domestic prosperity. In other words, Oishiro-sama exists solely to stop the villagers from going outside the village. Oishiro-sama doesn't bless the villagers or protect them from disasters. The people believe that Oishiro-sama does all that for them, but the truth is that the people abuse his name for that purpose, generation after generation, and nothing more than that. Why did Oishiro-sama descend in the first place? Because demons came out of Onigafuchi swamp and attacked people.
実はこの時点で解釈が違ってたの。
In fact, that was the wrong interpretation.
鬼が湧き出して襲ったんじゃない。
Demons didn't come out of the swamp and attack people.
湧き出したものにやられると人々を襲う鬼になるの。
People became demons and attacked others when they were possessed by whatever came out of the swamp.
湧き出したもの
Whatever came out of the swamp.
どういう意味だよ、レナ。
What do you mean by that? Whatever came out of the swamp possessed people, crawled into their blood, controlled them, and turned them into demons. People had no resistance against whatever it was that came out of the swamp. They became demons, attacked the other villagers, and turned them into demons as well. That's right. It was a weird infectious disease that broke out from the swamp. It made the infected people go out of control. The villagers saw this disaster and explained it like so. Evil demons came out from the bottom of the swamp, possessed people, and turned them into demons as well. That is the truth of the story of the demons that came out of Onigafuchi swamp.
確かに、それだと伝説をうまく説明できるな。
It actually explains the legend.
じゃあ、お社様ってのは、ひょっとして異国から来た医者？
So, was Oishiro-sama a doctor who came from a foreign country?
そうだね。
Yes.
正確には正しくないけど、そう、医者と呼べる存在。
That's not exactly correct, but he was something like that.
それが降臨して伝染病を治療したの。
He came to Onigafuchi and he treated the infectious disease. Okay, so... Okay, we continue.
それは治療ではなく、対処療法でしかなかった。
But he couldn't cure it for good. Also, and I apologize, I've had to like twice or three times like go back and reread something. My mind is in like a few different places outside of the stream right now, and I apologize for that. I'll try to focus up. But we'll be well, I'll be fine. We'll be good. Wait, everyone don't panic. Your pilot is focusing. He's working on focusing. But mostly I'm just trying to reread to see, make sure that I'm not like missing. This feels like we've got that music going on, the boop, 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 that just makes it convey like we're actually like learning like a big important thing or something that might explain something important, so I don't want to like miss it, you know? When a music cue makes me want to feel like I have to focus up, pay attention, don't miss anything. Focus your brain. Okay, all his treatment could do was reduce the symptoms of the infection. Villagers could have their symptoms suppressed, but there was no way to kill the parasites that infested them. After a while, the village was divided into two groups. One group was made up of people who were already infected, and the other consisted of the people who weren't. Without a cure for the disease, the uninfected looked down on the people who could only suppress their violent symptoms. So this is like a real-world application of the folk tale that we previously had been told about Oishiro-sama and the demon blood and the split and the divide in the people. There's the half that look down upon the other half. This is now like taking that tale of a story and putting like a real world situation to it, where it's like, oh, there's a disease from the swamp. Oishiro-sama, she didn't 100% confirm it, but she's like, something like that, kind of like a doctor, someone there to help the disease. They couldn't really cure it 100%. And then you have the infected people being looked down upon by non-infected people. That's what's happening here. So without a cure for the disease, the uninfected looked down on the people who could only suppress their violent symptoms. They even talked about drowning them in the swamp. But they knew killing the infected people wouldn't solve the problem. The parasites came out of their water sources, including Onikafuji Swamp. They couldn't fill them all in, or if they did that, they would lose their access to drinking water. Is Onikafuji Swamp and, like, Shrek anything? Is there a joke there? Has that been said before? Something, something, swamp, get out of my swamp, Shrek? I don't know. Just spitballing ideas here. They could have chosen to leave the village. Such a low effort by me. They could have chosen to leave the village, but that was hard for them, for that was the location of their ancestors' graves. Under the power of Oishiro-sama, infected people could live without showing symptoms. So, both those who were infected and those who weren't decided to live together equally and to coexist with the parasite. Oishiro-sama was impressed by the villagers' decision. He decided to stay there and continue to treat them.
それがお社様がこの地にとどまり、人と鬼の生活を見守ったの真相か。
That's the true identity of Oishiro-sama, the benefactor who stayed in the village to protect the lives of both human and demon. That's right.
そしてお社様は感染者である村人たちに症状を出さないために掟を作った。
And Oishiro-sama made rules in order to ensure the symptoms of the infected people would remain suppressed.
その最大にして唯一のものが村から出てはいけない、外から人を入れてはいけないだったの。
The rules were to never leave the village and to never let anybody into the village.
外から人を入れてはいけないってのはわかるぜ。
I understand why I didn't want to let anybody new into the village.
感染者を増やさないためだろ
It was to prevent the parasite from infecting anyone else.
う。でも出てはいけないってのはどういう意味なんだ。
But I don't understand why he didn't want people to leave.
寄生虫たちは気候や風土の関係でこのひなみ沢の地でしか生きられないらしいの。
It seems like the parasite can only live in Hinamazawa because of the climate here.
だから宿主である感染者がこの地を離れようとすると強い症状を出してそれを妨害するの。
It causes an outbreak of the symptoms in order to prevent the hosts from leaving the village when they try.
その妨害こそがいわゆるお社様のたたりの正体。
That reaction is the truth behind the curse of Oishiro-sama. The strongest symptoms of the infectious disease were violence and delirium. The infected people acted just like demons, and the impact of seeing them in the throes of the disease was strong enough to make others describe them as such. They couldn't even let people leave who had just come to the village. If they had left after being infected, they might go crazy in a faraway land, turn into a vicious demon, and cause a disaster. Infected people were never allowed to leave. When an infected person left the village, they brought him back by any means necessary. That was what it really meant to be demoned away.
ちょっと待てよレナ。
Wait a second, Rina.
だとしたら俺やレナも村人はみんなその病気に感染してることになるよな。
That means everybody in this village, including you and I, are infected.
でも俺たちはひなみ沢を離れたって別に何の問題もないぞ。
But nothing happens when we leave Hinamazawa.
実際村人にも結婚したりして遠方に住んでる人も少なくないらしいじゃないか。
In fact, many villagers move far away after getting married or something.
ひなみ沢をちょっと離れたからって錯乱して鬼と化したなんて聞いたことないぞ。
I've never heard of any villagers who went crazy and turned to demons after they left Hinamazawa.
そう。
You're right.
それはまさにお社様の目論見通りにことが進んだからなんだよ。
That's because things went as Oishiro-sama thought they would.
意味がわかるかな。
Do you understand?
この村を長い間封印してきたのは寄生虫の害を弱めるためなの。
He isolated the village for a long time in order to weaken the power of the parasite. Hosts are very important for parasites. Something happens to the host, the parasites that live in the host have to share the same fate. In other words, if the host went crazy and attacked people, the host would be captured and killed, which means that the parasites would die with the host too.
そうか。
I see.
自然淘汰か。
You're talking about natural selection.
さすが圭一君。
Good thinking, Ketchikan.
そう。
That's exactly right.
この地で長く生活を重ね、厳しい戒律で生活を続けた結果、
As a result of living in this village under such strict rules for a long time,
寄 生虫に対し過敏な人間は錯乱して結局殺された。
People who are hypersensitive to the parasite went crazy and got killed.
また感染者を錯乱させてしまうような強すぎる寄生虫はこれもまた錯乱した宿主と共に殺された。
The strong parasites that made the infected people go crazy were also killed off due to the host's violent behaviors.
その結果寄生虫と人間は互いに相性がいい種だけが残っていった。
As a result, only the parasites that acted nice to people lived on.
これこそがお社様の伝説が伝える鬼と人の血は混じり合ったことの真相。
And that's the explanation behind the mix of human and demon blood that's written in the legend of Oishiro-sama.
じゃあ
So,
つまりその寄生虫はほとんど無害なわけなのか。
that means the parasite is almost harmless now?
うん。
Yes.
ミオさんのスクラップ帳によると、そういった無害な寄生虫に感染しているケースというのはかなり多いんだって。
According to Mio-san's scrapbooks, there are actually many people who are infected by harmless parasites.
食文化にもよるけど、例えば生肉を食べる国では国民の8割くらいが感染している例もあるんだって。
It depends on the local food culture. For example, about 80% of the people who live in a country where meat is a staple food are infected by parasites.
でも矯正できてて人体に全く無害だから誰も治療しない、気づかない。
But because the parasites coexist with humans without doing any harm to them, nobody notices them, treats them,
だから撲滅もされない。
or tries to get rid of them.
なるほどな。
I see.
太古の綿流しはね、実は腹綿流しと書く物騒なものでね。
In olden times, Watanagashi was called Harawata Nagashi. Harawata meaning guts.
錯乱した犠牲者の臓腑を食らうものだったの。
It said the people back then used to eat the guts of infected people who went crazy.
でもこれも必要なことだった。
It sounds awful, but it was something they had to do.
感染して犠牲になった人を食らう。
Eating the infected people.
まさかワクチンとか。
Are you talking about a vaccine?
圭一君はやっぱり頭がいいね。
You're very smart, Kechi-kun.
ミオさんもそう読み解いてる。
Mio-san also interpreted it just like you did.
伝説では犠牲者を生きたまま解体して食らったなんて物騒なことになっているけど、実際はそんな野蛮なものじゃなくて、もっともっと医学的に取り扱われていたらしいの。
In the legend, it says people cut open and ate the infected one's life, but it actually wasn't anything gross like that. They did it in a scientific way.
強すぎる寄生虫のせいで死んだ犠牲者からワクチンを作り出し、同時に村人の抵抗力も高めていった。
They created a vaccine from the infected people who died from the extremely strong parasites, and that helped the uninfected villagers boost their immune system.
お社様ってのは何者なんだよ一体。
Who is Oishiro-sama?
医学。
A scientist?
医学先進国っていうとドイツか。
He must have been from a very advanced country. Was he German?
正体はひょっとしてナンパして流れ着いた外国人医師。
Is the true identity of Oishiro-sama a foreign doctor who survived a shipwreck?
多分圭一君の答えが一番一般的だと思う。
I think that'd be the most likely answer.
ドイツ人ではないんだけど、とりあえず医者的な存在であったのは正解。
He wasn't German, but he was a doctor of some sort.
古代の伝説の秘密が明かされていくってのはなんだか面白いな。
It's kind of interesting to reveal the truth behind old legends. I don't think that Rina's story is too crazy to be true anymore. It still sounds crazy, of course, but I've never heard any theories that explain the legend of this village better than this one.
多分俺も感染してるんだよな。
I'm infected by the parasite too, right?
なんだか体中が痒くなってくるぜ。
I feel itchy all over now.
人間だって一つの宇宙だよ。
A person is like a universe.
体の中には無数の細菌たちが住んでいる。
We have countless numbers of bacteria in our bodies.
その中には私たちの生活には欠かせない有用な細菌たちも少なくないんだよ。
Some of those bacteria are essential to us staying alive.
ああ、よくヨーグルトとかの CM で言ってるよな。
Oh, like bacteria in yogurt, right?
確かにそうだ。
Yes, Ketchy, just like Activia.
Jamie Lee Curtis wants to sell you some 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 healthy shitting yogurt or whatever the fuck. So yeah, he says, I see.
これもミオさんの受け売りだけど、例えばシロアリっているでしょ？
This is also what Mio-san wrote in her scrapbooks. You know termites, right?
木材を食い荒らしてしまうアリ。
They eat wood.
実はシロアリって木材を消化できないんだって。
But they actually can't digest it themselves.
体内に寄生している特殊な細菌が食べた木材の繊維を分解してくれて、その結果シロアリは木材を吸収できるんだって。
They have unique bacteria that decomposes the wood fibers. As a result, termites can absorb what they eat.
これも寄生虫と共生している一例だね。
That's just one example of a species coexisting with parasites. I didn't know that. It's science lessons with Rena. Science, science, science with Rena. I'm Rena! When I hear the word parasites, I feel creeped out, almost instinctively. But now, I know some of them aren't so bad to us.
だから太古の昔に鬼ヶ淵村から突如発生した奇怪な伝染病は今ではほぼ根絶されたと言っていい。
So, the weird infectious disease that broke out from Onifuchi Swamp has been exterminated by now.
根絶じゃないね。
Well, I shouldn't say exterminated.
無害になったと言うべきだね。
I should say it's harmless now.
最初はとんでもない話だと思ってたけどさ、
I thought it was a crazy story at first.
こうして種明かしがされるとなんだかサイエンスな感じがしてちょっと面白い話だよな。
But now I feel like I just saw the trick behind some crazy kind of magic. It's interesting.
私たちには面白いよ。
It is to us.
でもお社様を神として崇める人たちにとってはこれはとても不愉快な説。
But for the cult of Oishiro-sama, this must be a very annoying theory. Of course, if Takano-san's theory is correct, Oishiro-sama isn't a god. And the punishment by that god, namely the curse of Oishiro-sama that people have been so afraid of, will turn out to have just been the symptoms of an infectious disease. I see. That's what dethroning God would mean.
だとすると、もしこの伝染病の病原体を特定して世間に発表されるようなことがあれば、信仰は破綻しちまうな。
So, if the pathogen of this infectious disease was identified and announced to the public, the power of Oishiro-sama would be completely lost.
そう。
Oh, we're switching perspectives. That's right.
それこそが彼らの一番恐れることなの。
That's what they're afraid of.
そしてミオさんはその病原体を特定しようとしていたらしい。
Mio-san was going to identify the pathogen.
そのミオさんが消されたということは。
And for that, she was killed.
特定できたってことか。
So, that must mean she identified it.
かもしれないね。
Maybe she did.
ミオさんはもういないし、彼女のスクラップ帳にも特定できたとは書かれていない。
But she's gone. And she didn't say anything about that in her scrapbooks.
でも消されるに値する理由が他に思いつかないの。
That's the only reason I can think of, though.
でもよ、20世紀ももうすぐ終わろうっていう現代だぜ。
But it's the end of the 20th century.
村人だっていろんな医療機関で検査を受けてきたはずだ。
I'm sure the villagers have been examined by a lot of different medical institutions by now, right?
なのに、そういう怪しげな寄生虫が摘出されたって話はないんだろう。
I've never heard about anyone discovering a weird parasite like that. I know.
確かに病原体そのものは未だ発見されていない。
It's true that the pathogen hasn't been found yet.
でも確かに何かの規制を受けていることの信号だけは確認されているんだって。
But in fact, there is evidence that there's some kind of parasite involved. Now, I don't want to jump to this conclusion just yet, but is this the beginning of the unwrinkling of the reason, as I was talking about now for the last couple of streams and even at the top of this one, that this is the fabled reason for why Takano did what she did and why she's running away and obviously left the information to people like, you know, Rina or Shion. Is she really just trying to get like information out about this place? And then she, like, if we're to assume all this is true and it is exactly how Rina is explaining and interpreting it. Would it make sense for her to go through all this trouble, and then be like, well, I need to, and then maybe she start, like, I'm talking about Takano here, starts feeling like heat, feeling the pressure a bit somehow, and then she's like, well, I've got to leave, and I also don't want them trying to find me for whatever reason, so now I have to fake my death. Like, is that a justifiable? I mean, it seems like some drastic steps to take. I just don't know. I don't know.
なんだって
What?
本当かよ
Really? When a parasite enters a human body, that body's immune system cells, oh boy, eosinophils and macrophages try to kill the parasite. They secrete an antibody called immunoglobulin. I know this word too. Immunoglobulin E. IgE. The most common way of checking if a person is infected by a pathogen is to look at the levels of this secretion. According to Takano's research, people from Hinamazawa have a very high level of IgE in their blood. That's not all. They also have obvious symptoms of being infected by parasites. They don't have any allergies. IgE stimulates mast cells, and they secrete histamines and serotonin as a result. They cause an allergic reaction. An allergic reaction isn't pleasant for humans, but it's necessary for the body to kill the pathogen. But the parasites don't want to be killed, of course, so they secrete substances that counteract IgE. As a result, IgE stops stimulating the receptors of the mast cells, which stop secreting the chemical compounds. Man, Higurashi really woke up this morning and was like, we're giving you a biology lesson. As a result, the antigen-antibody reaction, namely the allergic reaction, doesn't occur. In other words, a human body that was infected by a parasite secretes a high level of IgE, but doesn't display allergic reactions. For your information, a human body that's infected by a parasite doesn't suffer from hay fever. You get hay fever due to your body secreting a large amount of IgE because it's mistaken pollen for a parasitic invasion. As a result, large amount of stimulants like histamine will be secreted, but your body can't contain the parasite that's attempting to kill. That's why your body continues to secrete IgE. As a result, the stimulants keep causing allergic reactions. That's how hay fever works. If you have a parasite in your body, it'll deactivate your IgE and suppress the secretion of stimulants. As a result, you don't have an allergic reaction. In other words, there's no hay fever in Hinamazawa, and you can cure your hay fever by moving here.
つまり特定はできなくてもその存在だけは疑いようがないってわけだ
So we haven't been able to identify the pathogen, but there's no question about its existence. Yes.
そうなるね
That's right.
だとするとそのスクラップ帳は狂信的な連中にとっては十分危険な存在だな
If that's true, scrapbooks are a big threat to the believers in Oishiro-sama. Also, inconsistent, like, telephone effect on the voices here. I think it's the second time I've noticed this.
たとえ特定できなくても
Like, why isn't the effect
存在
happening
を
right
証
now?
明してる時点で
Huh?
十分に危険だと思うぞ
They don't identify the pathogen, but they clearly prove its existence.
そうだね
Yeah.
たとえ証拠にはならなくても彼らにとってはミオさんを葬るに値する危険性があったと思う
It poses a big enough danger to them to make them think it's worth killing Mio-san.
確かに恐ろしい秘密だな
And now it's back. This really is a scary secret.
ちゃんと説明してもらえば理解できることだがいきなり聞いたら刺激が強すぎる話だぜ
I believe it because you took the time to explain it to me, but if you had skipped the details and told me only the conclusion, it really would have sounded too crazy to believe.
でしょ
I told you.
だから私も最初は信じられなかったし圭一君に話しても信じてもらえないと思った
I couldn't believe it at first either, so I thought you definitely won it.
で大事なのはその事実を隠蔽しようと暗躍してるヤバい連中がいるって方なんだよな
So what's important right now is that there's a dangerous organization acting in the shadows to try and cover up the truth, right?
そう
Yes.
今大事なのはそっちの方
That's the most important thing.
The fanatics want to revive the sanctity of the god they worship. Reviving the majesty of their god means reviving the power of that god. And the power of their god is the infectious disease. This infectious disease can't spread nationwide, unlike other infectious diseases. So from now on, I'm going to start calling it an endemic disease. Instead of a pandemic. That fits better since it only affects this region. Anyway, the endemic disease of current day Hinamizawa is different from the one of old times. It's been through a process of natural selection, and it's harmless now. In other words, it doesn't do any harm to human bodies. That harm was once interpreted as a curse. A curse is the power of a god, so a harmless endemic disease means that the god is powerless. That means the only way to regain the majesty of that god is to revive the curse. In other words, they want to bring back the primitive endemic disease, namely the harmful, strong version of the parasite.
ちょっと待てよ。
Wait a second.
信者たちは神が実は寄生虫だったなんてことは否定したいんだろ
These fanatics want to deny the fact that their god was actually a parasite.
う。なのに寄生虫を研究するのかよ。
But you're saying that they're researching the parasite.
矛盾してないか
That's contradictory, isn't it?
矛盾しているよ。
I know it is.
だからこの研究は信者たちのトップだけが知る秘密の研究なんだと思う。
I think that this research is a secret that only the head of the fanatics is aware of.
彼らは表向きは信仰を盛り上げているけど、その裏では信仰の正体について極めて冷静に理解していて、神の技を自らの手で復活させようとしている。
From the outside, they look like they're praising their god, but they actually understand its true identity, and they're trying to revive its supernatural power with their own hands.
なるほどな。
I get it now.
おいおい、なんだかとんでもない話になってきたぞ。
Oh my god, this is getting crazier and crazier.
ミオさんのスクラップ帳にはそうとは一言も書かれてないんだけど、私監督の診療所って怪しいと思うの。
It didn't say in the scrapbooks, but I'm suspicious of the clinic the manager owns.
異例診療所が
The Irie clinic?
どうして
Why?
ひなみ沢の規模から見て施設が立派すぎるのがその理由。
The facility is too big and fancy for Hinamizawa.
そしてミオさんはそこに勤めていた。
Mio-san was working there.
監督は園崎家にスカウトされてきた細菌学者が正体とか。
The manager might be a bacteriologist the Sonozaki family recruited.
監督がか
It can't be.
ミオさんは余計なことを知りすぎたから消されたんだと思うの。
I think Mio-san was murdered because she knew too much.
なのに監督が消されない理由は、監督は信者たちに依頼されている立場だから。
The reason why the manager hasn't been murdered yet is because he's working for the fanatics in the first place.
そして太古の有害な風土病を研究してるってのか
And he's researching the primitive form of the endemic disease.
あの監督が
It's hard to believe that the coach we know is capable of doing things like that.
ごめん、
I'm sorry.
監督は無関係かもしれないね。
He might be totally irrelevant.
今のは私の思いつき。
It's just a wild guess.
でも研究は間違いなくどこかで誰かにさせている。
But someone is doing the research somewhere. That much is certain.
そしてその研究には5年かかり、ついに完成を見た。
And after 5 years, the research has finally been completed. The first case was the dismemberment murder by the damned construction workers. Their quarrel had turned into a lynching. It might have had the primitive infectious disease, and the symptoms, the aggression and delirium, might have kicked in. The victims of the second year were Satoko's parents. There were no witnesses, so the whole event is veiled in mystery. But there's a theory that someone might have pushed them over the cliff, since the fence to the observation deck that they fell from was quite sturdy. What if one of them was infected by the primitive parasite? He or she might have become violent and pushed the other over the cliff. The Shinto priest died. I always want to go priest. Priest died from a disease, and his wife drowned herself in the 3rd year. He might have died of shock because of a hypersensitive reaction to the infection. His wife might have gone crazy and committed suicide when one of the symptoms, delirium, kicked in. In the 4th year, Satoshi Hojo's aunt was beaten to death, probably by Satoshi himself. Everybody who knew Satoshi-kun remembers how he changed at that time. He showed signs of being both aggressive and delirious. In the 5th year, for the first time in 5 years, the victim experienced the maggot disease described in the old scroll of the Furude Shrine. The reason behind that is unclear, but the stronger primitive parasite could have given its victims a delusion of maggots. This means that they finally managed to duplicate the curse of Oishiro-sama after 5 years of research. Tomotage-san is a victim of the 5th year. He died in an extremely abnormal way, and I'm the only one who understands his death because I experienced the same thing. He kept clawing at his throat to get rid of the maggots and died as a result. Oh yeah, that was a whole thing that was discussed last stream too, the whole maggots thing. Good thing that I'm randomly remembering certain sections and things that were talked about. But yeah, it was all described about how, like, she thought, you know, maggots were in her veins, in her blood. Anyway, he kept clawing at his throat to get rid of the maggots and died as a result. With all that explained, I finally understand the maggot disease I experienced in Ibaraki. I left Hinamizawa, and it made the parasite in me uncomfortable. As a result, it tried to resist, even though it wasn't very strong, and it tried to make me homesick. But with my parents' divorce, I grew mentally unbalanced, and I completely lost the power to resist for a period of time. The parasite was weak and harmless, but my mental instability allowed it to worsen my symptoms drastically. Dramatically, not drastically. As a result, I went crazy and became violent. The delusion of Oishiro-sama appearing to me in the bathroom was probably the terminal phase of my delirium. I created the supernatural existence, Oishiro-sama, that I was instilled with when I was little. Then I persuaded myself to go back to Hinamizawa based on that delusion. Some of the transcendents of Onigafuchi must have had the same kind of experience. They must have passed their experiences down as the acts of God. I remember I once saw on TV that the indigenous people in South America used some kind of natural drug in order to have a mystical experience, and that they called it a ritual to communicate with their gods.
じゃあ、信者どもの目的は、その太古の寄生虫をひなみ沢中にばらまくことなのか?
So, what the fanatics are trying to do is to spread the primitive parasites throughout Hinamizawa?
多分それが最終目的だと思う。
I think that's their goal.
でも人知れずにそれをやることはないと思うの。
But I don't think they'll do that without letting people know about it.
宗教にはセレモニーが必要だから。
Religions need ceremonies.
だからもし彼らが望むものを生み出せて、それをばらまく日が訪れたなら。
So if they created what they wanted to create, and if they decide to spread it,
彼らは多分それをお社様の復活の日とでも称して宗教的なデモンストレーションをすると思うの。
I think they name it the day of Oishiro-sama's revival or something, and they perform some kind of ceremony.
何か特別な儀式とか、とにかくお社様の復活を祝い知らしめるような盛大な何か。
It'd be in celebration of the revival of Oishiro-sama.
なあ、それってよ、悪いことなんだよな。
That's a bad thing, isn't it?
危険性の高い病原体をばらまこうというんだから、多分悪いことに分類されるだろうね。
I think you could say that because they're trying to spread a very dangerous pathogen.
それって細菌テロって言わないか?
Hey, isn't that bioterrorism?
おい、めちゃくちゃやばいことだぞ。おい。
Jeez, this is very bad.
富武さんの死に方がお社様のたたりの再現に成功していた以上、X デーは間近ってことなんじゃないのか?
They used it on Tomotage-san, confirming that they succeed in duplicating the curse of Oishiro-sama. So, that day of revival might be really soon.
わからない。
I don't know.
もう秒読みなのか、まだまだ時間のかかることなのか。
It could happen in a few days, or it might take a year.
もうこれはレナ一人が抱えていい問題じゃないぞ。
This is way out of your league, Rina.
かなり笑えない大陰謀だぞ。
This is a very serious conspiracy.
俺たちにはどうしようもない。
There's nothing we alone can do to stop them.
警察に任す方がないぞ。
We have to report to the police.
私が話したこと、警察は信じてくれると思う？
Do you think that they'll believe us?
信じるかどうかは向こうが判断するだろう。
It's their choice whether to believe us or not.
とにかく話した方がいい。
No matter what, we have to tell them.
ケイチ君。
Kechi-kun.
それを大石さんに私が打ち明けたら、私がスクラップ帳を持っていることを告白するのと同じなんじゃないかな。
Telling Oishi-san about all this means telling him that I have the scrapbooks.
それってまずいのか?
Do you think that'd be a problem?
大石さんの接触は ミオさんが殺された後だった。
Oishi-san came to me after Mio-san was murdered.
敵はミオさんを殺した時点でスクラップ帳の紛失とその数日前に私が図書館で出会っていることを知っている。
When they killed Mio-san, they found out that her scrapbooks were missing. I also know that she met me at the library a few days ago.
バカな。
No way!
つまり
You mean...
そう、
Yes.
大石さん自体が敵の手先である可能性がある。
Oishi-san could be one of them.
大石さんは私がスクラップ帳を持っている可能性があると当たりをつけていて探りを入れてきているのかもしれない。
It's possible that Oishi-san thinks I have the scrapbooks, and he might be trying to find out.
実際彼はうさんくさくて腹を割らない。
In fact, he looked very suspicious. It seemed to me that he didn't really tell me everything he knew.
園崎家を疑わせるようなことを言って自分は味方だと言ってくるけど彼だってその園崎家の手先かもしれない。
He only told me things to make me suspicious of the Sonozaki family. He could have just been trying to look like he was on my side and that he's actually their minion. Oh, we don't
警
trust
察を
Oishi
疑
now.
い出したらおしまいだぞ。
Well, I mean, most characters in this game didn't trust Oishi ever, right? So it's nothing new. Just add it to the list of reasons why we don't trust Oishi. Yeah? Keep that running list going. We'll put that one right next to taking kids to Angel Mart and giving them some form of pornographic material while they're recovering in the hospital. We'll nestle the fact that he might be a minion of these fanatics right in between those two things. If you're playing along at home. Keshi says, but the police are our only hope.
圭一君、4年目の撲殺事件を知ってるよね。
Kechi-kun, you know about the case of the 4th year, don't you?
さとこちゃんのおばさんが殺された事件。
Satoko-chan's aunt was murdered.
あれは犯人はサトシ君以外に考えられないんだけどその後犯人は麻薬中毒者だったということになった。
I believe Sachi-kun did it, but the police fingered a drug addict as a murderer.
これをどう思う？
What do you think about that?
警察内部に狂信的な連中の手先が混じっていて
Some of the fanatics are with the police.
犯人を捏造したってことが
And they fabricated the murder?
3年目の神主さんの病死の検視とか2年目の北条夫妻の事故現場の見聞とか。
It's the same with the autopsy of the Shinto priest, who they claim died from disease, and the inspection of the accident site where the Hojo couple died.
警察がもしも彼らの片棒を担いでいるなら数々の完全犯罪が可能になる。
If the police are on their side, it opens the door to many perfect crimes.
ひなみ沢御三家はダム戦争時から今日に至るまでもずっと警察への圧力を維持してるんだよ。
The three families have been maintaining pressure on the police since the dam conflict.
それに沖宮の町のいろんなところに一族が進出して実権を握っているというのはみーちゃんから聞かされたことがあるんじゃない？
You've heard from Michan that they also have considerable power over many organizations in Okinomiya, right?
確かに。
Yes, I have.
それはミオンの口からだけじゃない。
It's not only Mion who told me that.
いろんな奴の口から聞かされた。
Many people did.
ミオンの園崎家がどれだけ市内全域に強力な影響力を持っているかってのをな。
They told me the Sonozaki family holds influence over the whole city.
そういうこと。
That's right.
警察はこの土地では必ずしも信用できない。
You can't necessarily trust the police around here.
なあ、レナ、すまん。
Arena, please.
先にはっきりさせたいんだが、黒幕は園崎家なのか？
I want to make one thing clear before we go on. Are the Sonozaki family the masterminds behind all this?
ミオンも関係があるってのか？
Does that mean Mion is involved too?
それだけは先に聞かせてくれ。
Please, tell me.
御三家であるみーちゃんやリカちゃんが直接関係しているかはわからない。
I don't know if Mi-chan or Rika-chan are directly involved or not.
ただ狂信的な勢力が御三家や一番の有力家である園崎家を自由に動かせる中枢部に根付いているのは間違いない。
All I can say for sure is that the fanatics have the power to control the nerve centers of all the three families, including the most powerful family of all, the Sonozakis.
狂信的な勢力が根付いたのか、御三家の中枢が狂信的なのかは分かりかねるけどね。
I'm not sure if the fanatics are controlling the three families or if the three families are the fanatics themselves.
関係あるかどうかわからない以上、用心に越したことはないってわけだな。
As long as we're not sure about their involvement, it's better for us to be extra careful around them. Is that what you're saying?
うん。
Yes.
みーちゃんたちのことを疑うわけじゃないよ。
I'm not saying that I don't trust Mi-chan.
普段のみーちゃんは頼もしいし、私も他の心配事なら打ち明けて助力を求めることもあると思う。
She's usually very reliable, and I'd ask her for help with any problem, but not this one.
ただ、今回のことはちょっと話の次元が違う。
This one is a little different.
ケイチ君は見たことあるかな？
I don't know if you've seen it before, but
みーちゃんは普段はふざけているけど、園崎家の次期当主として振る舞うときはものすごく冷酷で別人みたいに振る舞えるの。
although Mi-chan jokes around when she's with us, she could be a very cold person when she's acting as the successor of the Sonozaki family.
それに、もし無関係だったとしても、それならばやはり耳に入れることで危険に巻き込むことにもなるんじゃないかな。
Plus, even if she wasn't involved, we would put her in danger if we told her about this.
ミオンたちが味方になってくれればかなり頼もしいぞ。
If she was on our side, that'd be really encouraging.
俺は打ち明ける価値があると思うんだが。
I think we should tell her.
だからそれはダメ。
No, we shouldn't. Shut up, Kechi. You have bad ideas constantly.
敵ではないと確認が取れるまで、それは避けるべきだよ。
We shouldn't tell her until we confirm she's not one of them.
味方にできれば確かに心強いけど、そうでなかった時はどうするつもり？
Sure, it'd be great if we could pull her to our side, but what if we couldn't?
じゃあ、俺とレナだけでどう戦うつもりなんだよ。
So, how are we gonna fight against them? Well,
もともと最初から絶望的な戦いなんだよ。
this is a battle we don't stand a chance of winning to begin with.
だからケイチ君を巻き込みたくなかった。
That's why I didn't want to get you involved.
くそ、
Damn it!
高野さんめ、とんでもない置き土産を残してくれたな。
Takano-san left us a big parting gift, didn't she?
でもそのおかげでとてつもない陰謀を知ることができたんだよ。
But because of that, we know about the conspiracy.
これはミオさんの遺言なんだよ、きっと。
I believe this is her will.
村を影から牛耳る何者かに、その村に住まうガキンチョ2人が挑むわけだ。
Two kids challenging the mastermind who controls the village.
こいつは最高にハードな話だぜ。
This is going to be tough.
一筋縄じゃいかねえぞ。
Ordinary methods won't work.
でもケイチ君が味方でよかったよ。
Sorry, I muted myself there before I sneezed. But Kechi-kun, I'm glad to have you on my side.
二人だから話し合えて相談できる。
We can talk about and plan things together.
当たり前だろ。
Of course.
俺は最初からずっとレナの味方で仲間だぞ。
I've always been on your side. And I'm your friend. I know.
ありがとう。
Thank you.
二人なら心強いよ。
You're very reassuring.
一人で悩むよりは建設的になれるだろうしな。
Two heads are better than one.
そうだね。
Yeah, I agree.
二人でどう戦えばいいか、これからじっくり相談していこう。
We can come up with a plan for how we're going to fight against them together.
今日は私、スクラップ帳を読み直す時間が欲しかったから休んだけど、明日からは普段通りに生活するね。
I skipped school today because I wanted some time to read the scrapbooks again. But I'm going to school again tomorrow, but I'm going to school again tomorrow. I'm going to act normal.
おかしな行動をすれば、気取られてしまうかもしれないからね。
They might sense something is wrong with me if I act different.
ケイチ君も変に構えないで普段通りに生活してね。
You should do the same, Kechi-kun.
みーちゃんとか、時折鋭いことがあるから、特に気をつけて。
Please be careful with Mi-chan. She's sometimes very perceptive. Act normal, Kechi. Goes walks into school, sweating bullets.
わかった。
Okay,
何事もなかったかのように生活するよ。
I'll act normal, as if I know nothing.
だが畜生、なんだか怖いぜ。
But damn, I'm a bit scared.
とんでもない陰謀が間近に迫ってて、それがもうカウントダウンに入ってるかもしれないってんだぜ。
A huge conspiracy is right around the corner. already be counting down to 0.
それを知りつつ普段通りに生活しろってのも辛い話だよな。
It's hard to act normal noting that.
多分そんなにすぐじゃないはずなの。
I don't think it's going to happen very soon.
さっきも言った通り、彼らが狂信的であればあるほど宗教的なセレモニーを必要とするはず。
Like I said earlier, if they really are religious fanatics, they need a religious ceremony.
そういうセレモニーは村を挙げて行うものだもの。
They need the help of the whole village to hold something like that.
綿流し以上のイベントは今のひなみ沢には存在しない。
I can't think of any event other than Watanagashi.
ということは少なくとも来年の綿流しまでは大丈夫ということか。
So, you're saying that we have time at least until the next Watanagashi festival?
根拠のない読みだけどね。
I can't promise,
他に綿流し以上のイベントが思いつかない。
but I just can't think of any event other than that. I think we have a year, at least. But I also feel like we don't because of how they killed Mio-san. I might not know, but there might be a bigger religious event than Watanagashi. It might not be long until that day. On the day of Ojishiro-sama's revival, they're going to spread a dangerous parasite. That day might be just around the corner.
レイナ、
Reina!
まだ電話してるのか？
Are you still on the phone?
そろそろ終わりにしなさい。
Wrap it up soon, it's getting late. My father stuck his head out from the living room, telling me I need to hang up soon. I thought about telling him so many times. It's natural to think that your parents will be on your side no matter what. But I know just how weak he can get, so I couldn't tell him. I don't think he'd believe me anyway. Even if I told him, he'd just tell me to call the police. It's better that I don't tell him. They might get close to my father to kill me, or they might get close to my father to get me. If he didn't know anything about anything, including the scrapbooks, there'd be nothing to squeeze out of him to begin with. Never trust your
ご
parents.
めんねケイチ君。
I'm sorry, Kichi-kun.
今夜はもう遅いからこれで切るね。
I have to go now. It's getting late.
また明日学校で。
I'll see you at school. I'll see you at school.
おう、また明日学校で。
Okay. See you tomorrow.
用心してね。
Be careful, okay?
ケイチ君ももう部外者じゃないんだから。
You're not an outsider anymore.
おう、せいぜい気をつけるぜ。
Yeah, I'll be careful. I remember the suspicious men in the white van, and felt a chill run through my spine. They looked like villagers, but they weren't. They had the village accent, but they were just pretending. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious they became. It let me know that Rina and I aren't safe. If Rina is right, they're just suspicious of her, and they're not sure if she has the scrapbooks or not. But it's still creepy. Rina had probably experienced the same creepiness I felt when I saw the van several times up until now. She must sense the danger more than I do. However, the fact that they weren't attacking, that they were merely observing us, was disturbing. If they attacked her, she could have done something, like going to the police. But all they're doing is just watching her from a distance. She can't do anything about it. She can't talk to anybody about it. She probably just wants to stay in her house all day. But if she acted different, they might take it as proof that she has the scrapbooks. We have to think about how to fight against them, without making it obvious. I told myself that there was no going back, and I put the phone down. Okay, we'll do the break. I gotta throw up a beer like I said at the top of the stream. I need to take care of just a couple things. At most, like 10 minutes. At absolute most, I would say. I will be right back shortly. I'll throw this up here. If you're watching the VOD on YouTube, I'll be so kind as to do the magic so that it's only like 10 seconds of BRB screen. So, I'll be back very shortly. You can listen to the birds chirping. The birds are still chirping. Okay, thing taken care of. And I will say under 10 minutes. Again, I didn't look at the time I stepped away. But I'm pretty sure I did that under 10 minutes, so. I'm all out of breath, though. I ran back.
I ran back to my desk. Ran back to my computer. To make it back in time.
You missed that one. Try another.
Okay. Let's see, what do we got? All right, Rena. Here we go. So, mini reset. We had Rena. We had Kichi discussing the theory. The semi-conspiracy theory that they think Takano wanted to give to them, to pass on to them before they died. Or not necessarily before she died. To pass on to them, and then she unfortunately died, is what they think. And now, it's the next day, and they gotta go to school, and they gotta act normal. What wacky hijinks will commence? Let's find out. The next day, Rena came to school acting normal like she said she would. She talked with Mion as cheerfully as she always did, and made me wonder if the story she told me last night was a complete fabrication. That's because the story was too ridiculously crazy to believe. This village has a very weird and rare endemic disease, and their religious fanatics want to use the disease to revive their weird cult. And they've been researching the pathogen of the endemic disease so they can spread it throughout the village. I was deeply influenced by Rena last night, and I believed everything she said. But thinking about it with a cool mind under the bright sunlight, it sounds too crazy to be true. The story Rena told me is based on Takano-san's crazy hand-me-down ideas. It's based entirely on her theories, which, though very feasible, have no evidence whatsoever. The fact that Takano-san was murdered lends credit to the story, I'll give you that, but I looked at Mion. She was fooling around with Rena. It's hard to believe that she's involved with some crazy conspiracy.
ていうか、聞いてないでしょ、ケイちゃん。
Hey, are you listening, Ki-chan? What?
悪い。
Oh, I'm sorry. He's just like me.
ごめん、聞いてなかった。
I wasn't paying attention. Oh, he is just like me. I'm saying that all the time.
まだ寝ぼけたまんまなのかな？
Wake up, sleepyhead.
寝不足だとおつむもちゃんと働かないよ。
You need to get enough sleep or your brain stops working. Mion made fun of me for reacting too slowly. It's almost impossible not to trust this bubbly, cheerful girl. I trust Mion. I trust my friends. I know she'd never have a hand in a crazy conspiracy like that. If she knew about it, she wouldn't be able to act this cheerfully. Rena told me not to tell Mion because she might be one of them. But it might be worth telling her without letting Rena know. Of course, there's at least a 1% chance that the conspiracy is true and that Mion is one of them. If so, I'd be doomed. But if I had to choose between believing the crazy conspiracy theory and trusting my friends, my answer would be obvious. I know that my friend Mion isn't part of any conspiracy. She'd never be involved with something like that. Even if the conspiracy exists, I'm sure Mion will be on our side. So, whether or not it's true, it must be worth telling Mion about it. It must be, obviously, the plurality of friends versus the one friend. And maybe he's thinking like, oh, the conspiracy thing is just too hard to believe. But like, how does he get off saying like, oh, I gotta trust these friends. I can't not trust these friends, but I can't trust Rena. Even though Rena's just as much a friend, if not more of a friend. And it kind of is fucked in a situation because he's potentially going to go and tell Mion this conversation he had in confidence with Rena. And Rena's like, don't tell anyone else. And he might betray that. It's kind of fucked, isn't it? I mean, I get what he's saying. He's like, well, I don't think they would be part of this whole conspiracy because I gotta trust my friends. But your friend tells you this thing, and she's confident you're not going to tell it after she said, don't tell him. Something tells me that that's going to be a conflict here. Something tells me that this is going to get around if he actually goes through with talking to, like, Mion about it. It feels like that's too much like something's gonna happen. I'm too confident. I'm feeling too confident.
なあにケイちゃん
Oh, he's doing it. That bastard. Took all of 5 seconds. Dude, this kid wakes up. After last night, they were like, hey, act normal at school. Don't say anything. This kid wakes up, feels the morning sun on his skin, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna blabber. God. Mion says, what's going on, Ki-chan?
こんなところに呼び出して
Why'd you call me out here?
それも誰にも内緒で来いなんてさ
You told me not to tell anybody.
まさかカツアゲとかそういうのじゃないよね
You're not going to extort money from me, are you?
お前な、体育倉庫の裏に呼ばれたら真っ先にそう思うのかよ。
Is that the first thing you think of when you're called out to the gymnasium storeroom?
じゃあラブレターとか
Oh, I know. You want to give me a love letter, don't you?
でもそういうのは下駄箱が定番じゃない
People usually use the shoe locker for that, you know?
都会じゃそうでもないぞ。
We don't really do that in the city.
直接渡す白兵線型も少なくない。
A lot of guys hand over their love letters in person. Really?
じゃあ
So, wait, you're...
なわけねえだろ。
Damn. Are you kidding me? That's not why I called you here.
それより、かなり真面目な話がある。
I have to talk to you about something very important. Poor Mion.
茶化しは一切なしで聞いてくれ。
I want you to listen without making fun of me.
何よどうしたの
What is it?
お社様信仰を復活させようとしている連中がいる。ってのは知ってるか？
Do you know that there are people who want to revive the cult of Oishiro-sama?
は
Huh?
何ケイちゃん何の話
What? What are you talking about? This, of course, was just my way of getting a feel for the situation. I wanted to see how she was going to react by getting straight to the point. But Mion really did look puzzled. People wouldn't normally react like this if someone pointed out their secrets out of the blue. They always panic, if only just a little. Either Mion was a brilliant actress, or she really didn't have anything to do with the idea of reviving Oishiro-sama. I decided to tell her everything.
ミオ、
Mion?
お前の家の園崎家って、ひなみ沢を含め、ものすごい影響力を持ってるわけだけどさ。
Your family, the Sonozaki family, has a lot of influence in this region, including Hinamizawa, right?
お社様信仰を復興するため、何か暗躍してるってことはあるか？
Do you think there's a possibility that they're working to revive the cult of Oishiro-sama behind the scenes?
こ
Revive?
うなんで
Why?
いや、だからさ、
Well, you know,
今のお社様信仰って、大昔の時代に比べたら、だいぶ信仰心が薄くなってるだろ。
people today don't worship Oishiro-sama like the people in the old days did.
それをさ、大昔の鬼ヶ淵村のレベルまで引き戻したいと思っている。いわゆる原理主義者的な連中が暗躍をしてるんじゃないかって。
So, people like fundamentalists might be trying to make people worship Oishiro-sama in the way, or the same way as the people of Onigafuchi. The damn Gen Zers don't believe in Oishiro-sama enough. The Gen Zers are destroying Oishiro-sama.
はい
Tragic. What?
ちょっと何よそれ
Wait a second.
何の話なわけ
I have no idea what you're talking about.
本当に何の話かわからないのか？
Are you sure? Really have no idea what I'm talking about?
わかるわけないよ
Of course I don't.
何その全米第1位みたいな面白ストーリーはさ
It sounds like one of those popular novels that sold 5 million copies over in America. Mion's reaction was very natural. It seemed impossible that she was pretending she didn't know anything about it. But regardless, I continued.
いや、だから、
Well,
そういう連中がこの村にいるらしいんだよ。
there are people like that in this village for real.
ミオは知らないか？
Do you know anything about them?
お社様信仰を鬼ヶ淵村の時代のレベルに
You're saying that those people want to make us worship Oishiro-sama like the people of Onigafuchi did?
そんなことして何かいいことあるの？
What good will that do?
いや、そりゃ信仰の厚い狂信的な連中にとってはとても重要な意味があるんじゃないかな。
You know, I think it means a lot of people to really... I think it means a lot to people who really believe.
だってケイちゃん、
But think about it, Kichan.
大昔の厳しい戒律の頃に逆戻りって誰も喜ばないよ。
Who'd be happy to live under those strict ancient rules?
今のこの現代、村から出るななんて言われたら生活なんかやってられないって。
In this day and age, it's almost impossible to live without leaving the village.
例えばほら、リカちゃん。
But, for example, think about Rika-chan.
リカちゃんって何でもお社様の生まれ変わりとか言ってちやほやされてるらしいだろ。
All the old people say she's a reincarnation of Oishiro-sama, right?
そういった取り巻きの老人たちの中にはきっと狂信的な一派が存在して。
Those people might be religious fanatics and...
リカちゃんの取り巻きっていうと、君吉のおじいちゃんとかのこと？
Are you talking about old man Kimiyoshi?
まあ確かに信仰心は熱い方だと思うけど、狂信的ってのはどうかと思うね。
Well, I know he's a deeply religious man for sure, but he isn't a fanatic.
いやだからいるんだよ。
Believe me!
本来のお社様信仰を再び復活させようとしている輩が。
There really are people who are trying to revive the cult of Oishiro-sama.
はいはい。
Okay.
話が進まないからこの場は信じるよ。
I'll believe you for now because I want to hear the rest.
それで？
Go on.
で、そいつらはお社様の正体がこの土地独特の風土病にあることを突き止め、その病原体を研究しているらしいんだ。
They found out that the curse of Oishiro-sama was just an endemic disease unique to this village, so now they're researching the pathogen.
どこで？
Where?
というか、風土病って何？
First of all, what's an endemic disease?
病原体って何よ？
What's a pathogen? Mion!
園課長！
Get it together! They sound gross. I was getting confused. I didn't know what I was talking about myself anymore. Oh no, the conspiracy is getting lost. I was deeply influenced by Rina last night and believed everything she said. But having said it all out loud, I started realizing how impossible the story sounded. Oh no, the tides are turning against Rina. That is not going to be good, is it? Oh no. Oh no.
どうしたの？
What's going on with you?
ミオさんに妙なことでも吹き込まれたわけ？
Did Mio-san tell you all this?
知ってるのか？
How did you know?
有名だよ。
She's infamous for this kind of thing.
あの人オカルトマニアだから、いつもとんでもない空想話をでっち上げてる。
She's an occult maniac. She always makes up crazy stories.
たまに真に受ける人がいると、かなりヘビーに吹き込むって有名なんだよ。
A few people have gotten badly taken in by her before.
私も昔話を聞かせてもらったことがあったけど、結構面白かったな。
She told me some of her stories once, and I remember they were actually very interesting.
それって本当か？
Is that true?
ケイちゃんもどこかで耳にしてるだろうけど、この村は大昔はちょっと特殊な文化があった。
I think you've heard about this once or twice before, but this village had a unique culture back in the old days.
それは少し刺激の強い要素のある文化でね。厳しい戒律と厳しい刑罰、残酷な風習は割とオカルトマニアの間では知られてるらしい。
They did a lot of oppressive things, like having very strict rules, very strict punishments, and a bunch of other cruel traditions. They're well known among cult maniacs.
ミオさんもそんなマニアの中の一人。
Mio-san is one of them.
じゃあこの村が怪しげな寄生虫に支配されているという話は？
So, the story I heard about the weird parasite that controls the village was...
はあ？
What?
寄生虫？
Parasite?
それミオさんの新作？
Is that a new story she came up with?
新作ってどういうことだよ？
What do you mean new story?
言ったでしょ、ミオさんはオカルトマニアなの。
I told you. Mio-san is an occult maniac.
鬼ヶ淵村の奇怪な伝説などを研究して、あれやこれやの仮説や推理、妄想を楽しんでるわけよ。
She studies the weird legends surrounding Onigifuchi and enjoys making up hypotheses, theories, and weird stories about them.
だからその寄生虫に村が支配されてるって説以外にもいろいろ創作してる。
She's created a lot of different ones aside from that theory that parasites are controlling the village.
私がずいぶん前に聞いたのは UFO 説だったよ。
One I heard an awful while back was about UFOs. UFOs. Mion, actually, they're not called UFOs anymore. That's not the proper term. So now Ketchy has one of two paths he can really take here. And I think we're starting to see, based on his own inner monologue, what path he's going. He could hear this from Mion and be like, ah, she's trying to downplay it. She's trying to discredit Takano. She's diverting our attention and making it so that that's dispelled. Or you can go the path where I think he's going. Oh, yeah, the way she's downplaying it really makes it seem how crazy it is of a theory. I think that's the path he's going. And my guess then is here that if it does get back around to Rina, that he spilled the beans to Mion, either from Mion or from him, that Rina is not going to take this well. That is where I think this is. That's where I think this is heading, you know? Do I believe Mion? You're saying me, personally, the reader? I don't know, dude. Like, I hate to be so flip-floppy, even in the course of just this past hour and a half, but I was so dead set. Like, if I had to go commit one way or the other, 100%, I'm, you know, for a lot of reasons, I'd probably rather trust Mion in this situation. I think there's enough evidence to say that Rina has been sucked into a conspiracy, and she was susceptible. She was fragile. I've talked about this in the past couple episodes, but like, we're seeing a lot of through a lot of the course of events here with Rina and what she's having to go through, and she literally just recently killed people, and like I said, fragile emotional state, fragile mental state, potentially ripe for, I would think, a conspiracy to latch on really easily, and for her to spiral into that. Again, the only weird part about that is then you have to say, if that's the case, again, you have to ask yourself, what is Takano getting out of this whole situation? But to me, I think it's more likely I would side with Mion and say, yeah, that seems all too not plausible of a situation. Maybe I'm a fool, but like, it seems way too possible to me that that's the case. That this is all a theory born out of, as Mion's kind of describing it, coming from the brain of someone who's just really into the past of this village. We know there's evidence to show that Takano is crazy. She's loony for the not the lunar. She's loony for the history of this place. And whether that's just out of a hobbyism, like that's her hobby, that's her interests. She's taking a lot of notes. She's doing this thing. Again, maybe I'm wrong for holding on to this theory, but to me, unless we're really getting thrown about, and maybe I shouldn't be thinking this anymore, but who knows? I still think for whatever reason, she murders Tomatake. She fakes her own death. She escapes the village. Again, you have to think, why is she doing all this? I hope that's an answer we get at some point. But if that is the case, but because as I said even just earlier this stream, it makes sense if the conspiracy was true, then we start peeling back why maybe Takano did all this. Maybe. Again, you can maybe draw some kind of line about she was researching this, she feels she's
correct in her thinking about the conspiracy. She drops off her notes to Rina. She takes her own notes. She probably has her own theories. She fakes her death to get out of the village easily so she's not followed. There's that potential, and that at least starts answering the question about, like, why did she fake her death? Why did she kill Takano? I mean, again, not Takano, Toмотake. I don't know why Toмотake ends up being collateral damage to this whole thing, but maybe that's just to make it even more likely that she was murdered as well, which is very unfortunate to Tomotake's story. But so we at least start getting an answer if we go down that path. But I don't know if I'm willing to 100% believe that. Plus, there is a weird part of me that wants to believe Takano is just fucking nuts. And that she doesn't have a good reason for being as weird as she is. Part of me, I mean, I already hate her enough. Half jokingly, but like, I'd rather her have some other ulterior motive to this whole thing other than her just 100% believing in a conspiracy. Whether it's true or not. That's a whole separate thing. You could go the extra layer and say maybe she doesn't actually believe in the conspiracy, but this is part of a whole thing to get a ton of people off of her trail. Again, maybe she has some really big thing she was doing or working or reason for escaping the way she did. And it's really involved, but if she plants these seeds that we saw, like with Rina, with Shion back in last chapter, like, I don't know what kind of diversion she's creating, but what if it was all a plan, part of her plan to get out? I don't know. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know. I don't trust myself. I don't trust myself to come up to a good conclusion, unfortunately. I'm probably making no sense whatsoever. Mion says, that one was interesting since it connected a lot of different dots.
太古の昔に鬼ヶ淵村に UFO が墜落して、そこから出てきた異星人と村人で戦いが起こってという感じから始まる B 級 SF ホラーだった。
The story was about a UFO that crashed into Onikafuji Swamp long ago. The alien that was in the UFO and the villagers had a battle or something like that. It was like one of those sci-fi horror B movies.
サトコが聞かされたってのは地底人説だったかな。
The one Satoko heard was a theory about creatures from the bottom of the ocean.
地殻変動によって地底王国と鬼ヶ淵村の間に接点ができてしまって、それでなんだっけかな。
A movement in the Earth's crust opened up a connection between the underwater world and Onikafuji, and...
そうそう、地底王国のお姫様と村の若者が恋をして互いに仲直りをしたっていう SF ロミオとジュリエットだった。
The princess of the underworld fell in love with a young man in the village. It was like a sci-fi version of Romeo and Juliet.
で、最新作がどうやらケイちゃんの聞かされた寄生虫説ってわけみたいだね。
The story about the parasites that you heard must be a new one. Kechi's probably just looking at her like, please be serious for a moment, Mion.
いやいや、いつかそれらを全部まとめて本にしてほしいよ。
I hope she makes all of them into a book one day. Mion began laughing so hard that she had to hold her stomach. I guess at the end of the day, I have to pick a character to believe in. And from the very beginning, you know, a little ways into it, we became on this channel big fans of Rika. Still am, but early on, my appreciation was towards Mion as a character, and so it might burn me at the end of the day, but I have to ride or die Mion. And I keep going back to this thing where I think Mion's story is twofold throughout all these chapters. It's one, a story about a girl who's destined, you know, through familiar chains, she's destined to take over the Sonozaki family, this very powerful family in this village, and that she has to wrestle that with also being still a child with her friends and all that. And then two, the other part of the story, her story, is a lot of evidence constantly pointing to her being this big bad, this big threat, this big opposing force to certain people's whose perspective we look to and then at Mion, whether it's through the artist formerly known as Shion's perspective of Mion, or Kechi at different moments perspective of Mion, Rina in a sense now perspective of Mion, and constantly them being like casting doubts about like, oh, she's actually might be a bad person and we can't trust her. And I think that's, again, I could be very wrong about all this, but I think my guess would be that we're constantly, as the reader, supposed to see all these characters cast doubt towards Mion, and in this unfair doubt, I guess I would categorize it as, and her having to wrestle with that because she, you know, unfairly, constantly maybe has to deflect that doubt casted upon her, but it's almost justified doubt because she is who she is based on her family ties and all this. I'm rambling a bit, but all of this to say is that I feel as if, as a reader, as personally as a reader here of Higurashi for the first time, I gotta stick with Mion till I officially get burned 1,000,000%. I have to stick with Mion. I gotta ride or die with Mion. Until we roll the credits on Chapter 8, I've gotta ride or die with Mion. I gotta believe her when others in the story won't. And then secondarily, Rika. She's great. Anyway, as I looked at her laughing like that, I realized I fell for something that ridiculous. At that point, it was obvious. I had been completely taken in.
すまんミオン。
I'm sorry, Mion,
俺がこれから聞くことに答えてくれ。
but please answer my questions.
まず、お社様信仰を復活させようとする連中は実在する。
First, do the fanatics who are trying to revive the cult of Oishiro-sama exist?
しないよ。
No, they don't.
というかむしろ逆。
I mean, it's totally the opposite.
ひなみ沢は外部に対してどんどん開いていって栄えさせていこうということで、御三家はすでに意見を統一してる。
The three families have agreed to open Hinamizawa to outsiders in order to make this village thrive.
これはまだ内緒なんだけど、21世紀までをめどにね、新しい高速道路がここいらを通るという計画があるんだよ。
I'm not supposed to tell anybody about this, but there's a project to build a new highway by the end of the 20th century.
園崎家は現在水面下でその誘致をしててね。
The Sonozaki family is promoting its construction without informing the villagers.
うまくいけばここいらは一気に栄えることになる。
If all goes well, this whole area will flourish.
バッチャはそれによって山林の地価が一気に高騰して大儲けできると踏んでるみたいだよ。
My grandma is betting she'll make a fortune when it causes land prices in the region to skyrocket.
まあ21世紀の仕事だから、それは私が引き継ぐ大仕事になりそうだけどね。
Well, most of the work will happen in the 21st century, so I'll likely end up taking over the project.
じゃあ、外部の人間を意味嫌う連中なんてのは存在しない？
So, you don't think there are people who hate outsiders?
だからそんなの存在しないって。
I told you, there's no such people.
ただでさえ不便な村をさらに不便にしてどうするんだか。
What makes you think we want to make this village more inconvenient than it already is?
現に村は今別荘地として売り出しを開始してる。
In fact, we've already started selling the land of the village to rich people who want to build country residences here.
ケイちゃんの家はまさにその第1号じゃないの。
Your house is on the first lot we sold, Ki-chan.
村人はみんな歓迎してくれたでしょ？
Didn't the villagers welcome you?
若者の流出を食い止めるため、御三家もいろいろと考えてるんだから。
The three families are trying to do everything they can to stop young people from leaving the village. There's nothing vague about what Mion had said. Her story makes a lot more sense than Takano-san's delusional theories. And so, Mion's words woke me up from that delusion.
じゃあ、あれはどうだよ。寄生虫の感染の証拠を示す血液中のなんとかとかいう数値が、ひなみ沢の住民だけ異常に高いみたいな話が。
So, what about this? I heard that the residents of Inamazawa have extraordinary high levels of something in their blood, and it proves that they're infected by parasites.
そうなの？
Really?
というか、ミオさんはそんなのどうやって調べたわけ？
How did Mio-san figure that out?
だって 高野さんは看護師だろ。調べる気になればいくらだって。
Takano-san is a nurse. I'm sure she can do that.
そんな怪しげな調査のために誰が血液採取なんかに協力するの？
And you think anyone would give her blood samples for no reason?
誰もしないって。
Because I sure don't.
それに仮に採血をしたってどこでどう調べたわけ？
Even if she could get blood samples somehow, how and where would she examine them? Also, with the way this conversation is now going, I don't think this gets back around to Rina. I think at some point soon, I think Kechi takes this conversation and the fact that he's turning back. I think he just goes back to Rina and says, hey, you know what? Maybe we should slow down and maybe all this is not real. And we already see Rina is fully deep into it. And just like real life, when someone is fully entrenched in a conspiracy theory that literally like consumes their whole life, like she's probably not going to take it well that this person she trusted to tell everything to, went to Mion, said everything, if that part gets out, and 2, doesn't believe her now anymore. And I assume that's going to be my guess, now even more confirmed, more rock solid theory, is that that's going to be the climax, of this chapter is the fact that he's now turning now, for lack of a better term, against Rina. Unfortunately. But to boil it down even more, Kechi is taking the side of and trusting more in Mion than Rina.
ミオさんがたった一人で一体何人の血を調べられたっていうわけ？
How many blood samples do you think she examined all by herself? Mion was right. I couldn't believe I thought Takano-san could do all that just because she was a nurse. It struck me hard to believe that she got that many blood samples and did a high-level examination like that without any help. When I thought about it rationally, I shouldn't have believed such a ridiculous story so easily.
寄生虫の寄生の証拠として花粉症にかからないって聞いたぞ。
I heard that people here don't get hay fever, which is proof of their being infected by the parasite.
花粉症って都会の病気じゃないの。
Only people in cities get hay fever.
あれは確か排気ガスと関係があるんでしょ？
I heard it has something to do with fuel emissions.
ここはひなみ沢だよ、ケイちゃん。
Ki-chan, you're talking about Hinamizawa.
というか、多分沖宮の人にだって花粉症なんてそうそういないと思うけど。
I mean, even people in Okinomiya don't get hay fever, I think.
じゃああれは
Well, what about this?
その崎本家当主直属の暗殺部隊ってのがいて、
Oh no.
昔大臣の孫の誘拐とかをやったんだろう。
I heard that the Sonozaki family is a death squad and that they kidnapped the grandson of a government minister once. Ha 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 ha. Now, we, as the reader, again, unless we're being fed like unreliable narrator type things, we did experience this. We did see that. We have to say we were shown that experience. So many things could be wrong about that experience, but we were shown that. So I'm curious to see how she deflects or downplays this or says it doesn't happen. Because you could take then that one of a couple ways. You could say like, well, if she says it didn't happen, then and she's lying to us, do we then say everything she says is now a lie? I don't know.
そんなのがいたらかっこいいね。
Well, the death squad thing. She's now right just saying this. That sounds cool. I wish I had a squad like that. But she didn't say no to the kidnapping of the grandson thing. She just said no to the death squad thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into everything. Maybe I just don't know shit. And no matter how much I talk, I'm not coming any closer to finding out the truth myself. Maybe I'm blinded by Mion here. Maybe I have too much faith in Mion. I don't know. I can't flip-flop. I have to commit, but I don't know. Even I was sounding ridiculous. But I believed all of it last night. I believed it because Rina looked very serious. Wait.
大臣の孫が高津戸のあたりで突然発見されたのは事実。
Rina looked very serious last night? They were on the phone, right? Whatever. It's true that the grandson of a minister was found in Takatsudo.
だけれど、あれは私たちじゃない。
Okay, there we go. She says we didn't do it.
私たちじゃないけど、それを私たちはさも自分たちが犯したように振る舞ってた。
We just acted as if we did. Was that described like that before? Now I'm trying to remember. I'm not misremembering how that happened, right? I'm trying to remember the details at the end of that chapter. God, it feels like so long ago. Was there a bit previously described about how... Or did Oryu say that she didn't think she had... Was that included in the bit where Oryu was like, no, I didn't tell anyone to do that? But then she somehow caught wind that that was happening? And then was it described that they were like, all right, well, if it's happening, then we will act like we did it so that we can get what we want out of the damn project being canceled? Forget about unreliable narrators. Fucking unreliable brain and memory of the reader, such as myself. So maybe something along those lines? I don't know. I don't know. Everything's lost. Everything's lost to... Oh, God. Now I'm just... The problem is... And it's more of a me problem. But, like... With this story, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a me problem. But, like, with the story, now, like, certain things... I mean, it happened a lot with the last chapter, too, with the Mion and Shion flip-flop, whatever thing. But, like, it's a story intentionally where, especially because we're reliving certain parts of a timeline, like... Some things like here where she's like, oh, we didn't do it, we caught wind of it kind of thing. It's like intentionally vague. Everything is vague. We can't trust anyone, what anyone says. Everyone's got different theories in the story. So then you're like, wait, was that something that actually happened, or were we told it happened, or... At the very least, Oryu never said it wasn't her. Okay. 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 So now am I supposed to think Mion's full of shit here? With this and everything now that she's saying to Keshi? I don't know. I can't flip-flop. No matter how... Maybe this is supposed to make me want to flip-flop or flip on Mion. But I can't allow it. I can't let the writing do it. Can't let the story do that to me.
わかりにくいぞ。説明してくれ。
What do you mean? Please explain.
うん。
Okay.
ダム戦争の当時、鬼ヶ淵死守同盟は相当に物騒な抵抗運動をしていたのは事実。
The Onigafuchi Guardians protested violently during the dam conflict.
脅迫めいたこともやってのけた。
They did something close to terrorism as well.
でもね、あの当時それを利用するやらしい連中もいたらしいの。
But there were people who used the resistance movement for their own benefits.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の名を語って金品を要求したりするエセ同盟って連中。
They used the name of the Onigafuchi Guardians to rob people of money and valuables. The Onigafuchi Guardians were a very aggressive force at that time. There's a high possibility that some people thought they could use the name to extort money.
その中に大臣の孫の誘拐もあったの。
The kidnapping case is one of those incidents.
おそらく誘拐犯たちは警察の捜査の撹乱を狙って死守同盟のふりをして身代金を要求したんだと思う。
The kidnappers thought they could stifle the police investigation by acting like they were the Onigafuchi Guardians. They kidnapped the boy to demand a ransom. Kidnapping case was one of those incidents that kidnappers thought they could stifle the police investigation by acting like they were the Onigafuchi Guardians.
正直あの事件は同盟にとっても驚きだったよ。
To tell you the truth, the members of the Onigafuchi Guardians were all very surprised.
よく大臣の孫を誘拐できたもんだって話題になったね。
They were actually impressed that those guys actually pulled it off.
犯人たちに会えたら表彰してやろうなんて盛り上がったっけ？
I remember they even said that they'd give them an award.
ちょっと待て。
Wait a second.
じゃあ大臣の孫の誘拐は鬼ヶ淵死守同盟は何も関係ないのかよ。
So, the Onikafuchi Guardians had nothing to do with the kidnapping?
うん。
No?
全くない。
Not at all. Kasuka and Oishi assumed it was the Sonozakis, and they did act as like it was them that kidnapped the kid. Mion is telling you new information now. Okay, yeah, that's what I gathered then. Okay. But it almost sounds like bullshit coming from Mion. I mean, and if I was to admit that, then I'm not trusting my girl Mion, but like, I don't know. I don't know who to trust in this story. As with any kind of good mystery, I don't know who to trust. Whose perspective to trust. Everyone's fucked in the head, including me. No one knows. No one knows anything. A lot of misinformation being peddled. Am I going to doubt her even after chapter 5? I can't do it. Alright, Mion says no, not at all. Mion said it firmly. It was a simple and clear answer, which left no room for suspicion. And thinking about it, it's nothing surprising. Kidnapping the grandson of a minister and negotiating with him in person is a huge deal. The Onikafuchi Guardians were a very aggressive group, but this operation wasn't so easy that it could be carried out by any of the normal residents of Hinamizawa. It was obviously the work of professional criminals, without a doubt.
ただね、さっきも少し言いかけたけど、
Like I said earlier,
園崎本家はね、この誘拐事件を自分たちが黒幕であるかのように振る舞っていた。
the Sonozaki family act as if we were the masterminds of the kidnapping case.
振る舞ったってのはどういうことだ？
What do you mean by that? I need a good answer here, Mion.
園崎本家の秘密の家訓なの。
This is a secret precept of the Sonozaki family.
ケイちゃんにはこっそり話すけど、話したことは内緒だよ。
You can't tell anybody about this, okay?
園崎本家ではね、自分たちに都合がいい何かの事件が起こった時、あたかもそれが自分たちの差し金であるように振る舞うブラフの伝統があるの。
When an incident like this happens, we traditionally act as if we're responsible for it. It's a tradition of bluffing.
ブラフって
Bluff? Bluffing?
はったり？
Really?
うん。
Yeah.
自分たちに利することがあったなら、それは事件でなくてもいい。
Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it works out in our favor. It can be a criminal incident.
お天気でもいいし、宝くじの当選番号でもいい。
The weather, or even lottery numbers.
あたかも園崎本家が望んだからそのような結果になったかのように振る舞うの。
We act as if it happened because the Sonozaki family wanted it to happen.
そうするとどう？
It starts to sound like we're a very powerful organization.
なんだかものすごい黒幕ってイメージになるでしょ？
Doesn't it?
つまりはそういうこと。
That's the point.
これは園崎本家の当主だけに代々公伝で伝承される秘密のイメージ戦略なの。
This is a secret strategy that only the Sonozaki family heads know about.
自分たちを本来よりもより強大に見せようとするイメージ戦略。
The strategy is meant to make us look bigger and stronger than we really are. Wow.
じゃあほら、ダム戦争時に建設省を占拠するって作戦があったんだろ。
So, what about the plan they had during the dam conflict? The one to attack the Ministry of Construction?
あれは。
Was that true?
しかもそのために武器やら訓練やら。
I heard that they obtained weapons and even trained for it.
それも全く同じだよ、ケイちゃん。
That was the spin we put on it.
そんなバカな作戦本当にやるわけないじゃん。
There's no way we could actually carry out a crazy plan like that.
最大の目的はあいつらならやりかねない、なんて恐ろしいやつらだっていうプレッシャーと幻想を与えるのが最大の目的だったんだよ。
Our real goal was to make people believe that we are capable of doing things like that so we could exact pressure on the government.
つまりこれもまたイメージ戦略ってわけ。
That's all. They obtained weapons and went through training just so they could exact pressure. They had no intention of actually carrying out the plan. Sonozaki family was just bluffing. That made sense. Of course it did. It's impossible to attack the Ministry of Construction. Even if they did, it wouldn't solve the problem. All I had to do was use common sense. Even if they did, they would have been crushed within seconds by a huge number of policemen. Why didn't I think of that?
じゃあ武器とか訓練とかってのは
What about the weapons and training?
武器に関してはノーコメントでいいよね。
As for the weapons? No comment. Oh, Mion, you rascal.
訓練もやったよ。
But we did go through training.
はったりになるようちゃんとしっかりね。
We needed to do that in order to make the bluff look real.
葛西さんをリーダーにお父さんとこの若い衆たちを引き連れてテキサスの砂漠でトレーナーさんと戦争ごっこをやった後はサンフランシスコでのんびり観光してた。
We gathered some younger men from my father's office and appointed Kasai-san as leader of the group. We went to a desert in Texas. In Texas? My home state? Played war games with some instructors and went sightseeing in San Francisco afterwards. That sounds like a fun romp. We go to Texas, we play with weapons, training.
じゃあ
So, I couldn't think of anything else. It was obvious now. No, Rina and I both were completely fooled by the scrapbooks of Takano-san's delusion. Rina was so serious about it, so I believed her. But if you examined it closely, there were so many inconsistencies. I couldn't believe Rina took a delusion like that so seriously. I knew the reason why, though. She was still in a state of shock after being caught with the corpses that day. She was mentally unstable. Then she came across this tall tale, and she believed it. Rina's a smart girl. She wouldn't have taken it seriously if she was stable. Plus, another thing happened to wake me up from the delusion. The white van I saw yesterday came to school during the lunch break. 4 men in work uniforms I saw were there too. Oh, I said thank you to Mion and followed them. The man who talked to me yesterday knocked on the door of the teacher's office.
毎度おこのぎ造園でございますね。
Hello, I'm from the Okinogi Gardeners.
どうもご苦労様です。
Oh, thank you for coming.
今日も暑いですね。
It's very hot today, isn't it?
いえいえ、先生は今日もますますべっぴんで。
It sure is. By the way, you look very beautiful today, as always. Oh, I'm so fucking smooth.
ではすみません。今日もよろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you. Well, you can start whenever you're ready.
はい、よろしくお願いします。
Yes, we'll start right away.
これ、うちの事務屋から渡すように言われましたんで。
My account manager told me to give this to you.
見積書と請求書ですね。
The quote in the invoice, I see.
ありがとうございます。
The date is left blank on both of them.
日付は空欄ですね。問題ありません。
Well, there shouldn't be any problem.
はい、お預かりします。
Thank you very much. Or thank you so much.
はい、それでは取り掛かりますんで。
Alright, we'll start right away. The man was talking to Chie-sensei with a big smile. Hmm?
どうしたのかね、前原君。
What are you doing here, Maiburu-kun?
あ、校長先生。
Oh, principal.
今の男の人は
Who
誰
is-
ですか？
Who is that guy? Principal pointed his finger at the window. When I looked out, I heard the noise of an engine starting. The noise was coming from the engine of a motorized lawnmower. I saw young men in work uniforms taking another lawnmower, some brooms, and a ladder out of the van.
園芸業者さんである。
They're gardeners.
だいぶ垣根や樹木が手入れされてなかったからの。
We haven't taken care of the grass around the fence and the trees for a long time.
夏前に一度剪定を頼もうと思ったのだよ。
I wanted to clean them up before summer.
ああ、校長先生。この度はお世話になりまして。
Mr. Principal, thank you for giving us a call. The man noticed the principal, took off his hat, and bowed. No need.
よろしく頼み申しますぞ。
I trust your work. Please take care of things.
なんとか今日中で終わらせますんで。
I think we can finish it today.
しばらくうるさくしますんが、ご容赦を。
We might make a lot of noise, though. Each worker took one of the tools and walked towards the fence where the grass was growing. The engine of the lawnmower was very loud, and the kids who were playing in the schoolyard looked at it curiously.
こら
Hey!
危ないですから皆さん教室へ戻りなさい。
It's dangerous out here. Go back to your classroom. It was Chie-sensei. She handed an envelope with the documents in it to the principal. It said Okanogi Gardeners in green on the envelope.
では校長先生、
Principal?
申し訳ありませんが、この請求書を後日市役所に行かれるときに持って行ってください。
Please send the invoice and drop it off at their office next time you go to the town hall. Of course.
心得た。
Will do.
千恵先生、
Chie-sensei.
あの造園屋さんは昨日も来てました？
Did they come here yesterday?
ええ、
Yes.
昨日の夕方に一度下見に来てもらいました。
They came here to look at the grass late in the afternoon.
帰りに近道をしようとして迷ってしまったと言ってましたっけ？
They told me they got lost on the way back because they tried to take a shortcut.
この村は細い道はだいぶ入り組んでおるからの。
This village has a lot of small roads branching off everywhere,
無理もないわい。
and they can be very confusing. I remember when I first came here, Chie-sensei started talking about when she got lost, and they laughed together. There was never anything suspicious to begin with. I thought they were suspicious yesterday because of what Rina had told me. At first, I thought it wasn't unusual to see a white van, but then, right after I heard her creepy story, I saw a white van parked on the road and I got scared. The gardeners weren't familiar with the roads of Inamazawa. They got lost trying to take a shortcut on their way back. That's all. I had it totally twisted around. I believed that fake-sounding story. I believed that the Sonozaki family was working behind the scenes, and I fabricated the existence of a group of fanatical believers in my mind. Worse, I doubted Mion. Damn it. I'm such a fool. She's my friend. We took each other's hands that day, saying that we were a family made of friends, and that friends were friends no matter what. I said that, but then I doubted my friend. I'm so stupid. Anyway, Reina was the problem. Oh no. Oh, it's going south for this relationship here. Oh no. She also needed to wake up from this crazy delusion. I had to hurry and wake her up. Reina seemed like she had no mind to listen to anyone else. She truly believes that the Sonozaki family are the masterminds of a large-scale conspiracy. Oh god, he is awkward. Alright, Rina perspective. I remember the plate number of the white van, and I also remember their faces. Without a doubt, this is one of the vans that have been following me. So far, I've confirmed that 3 or 4 cars have been following me. Yeah, I brought this up last stream when I first noticed. I think it happened last stream on Saturday when I noticed that the pink changed color. And at first, there was like a split second where I thought my eyes were playing like a trick on me or something. Or my eyes were going, you know, I'm so old, my eyesight's leaving me. But in the time between that end of last stream and now today, I'd noticed that in my head, I failed to mention this earlier, but I think I pieced it where I was like, oh, it's a different shade now because of the turn in Rina's outlook, for lack of a better term, of things. Maybe to more reflect the aggressive nature that Rina is turning towards. So yeah. I pieced that together previously. I forgot to mention it now, but it's because I don't think I 100% put it together by the end of last stream, and then in the days since, I was like, oh, there has to have been a reason for that. And then I was like, oh, timeline-wise, it makes sense. So yeah. So far, I confirmed that 3 or 4 cars have been following me. I could especially recall this white van because it followed me around the longest of all. The people who are in the other cars must be on the lookout, the lookouts, and the ones in this van must be tasked Excuse me with direct contact like kidnapping or assassination. Lookouts secure the surroundings, and the ones in this van attack the target. That's a common maneuver involved in both kidnapping and assassination. The scrapbook said that too. If so, I better watch out because it was them, not the lookouts, who came to the school premises. Also, let's, again, not to just dogpile on Takano here. Well established how much she's on my naughty list of characters, but like whether Takano 100% or not believes in the conspiracy theory, at the very least we can say she has set Rina down this what's looking to be an ugly path that's on a collision course of conflict. And again, that's another thing against Takano. Because poor Rina here. Again, I think just as, and I was saying this even earlier before Ketchy even said it, that her mind was so easy to scoop up and suck up and absorb this conspiracy theory because seemingly like she was emotionally and mentally fragile after the events that she had to go through. And of course, Takano just has to ruin everything, as she does. God damn it, Takano. Anyway, any opportunity I get to shit talk Takano is an opportunity I will take. So, anyway, continuing. If so, I'd better watch out because it was them, not the lookouts, who came to school premises. I don't think they'll attack me while I'm in school. They're in the early stage of their covert operation now, hiding their fangs and claws until the last stage of their horrifying scheme. That's why they won't take action in the school where people are watching. Secret Agent Rina going on here. But it looked like they were talking with Chie-sense in a very friendly way. I could only hear bits and pieces of their conversation, but it sounded very suspicious. I tried to remember the chatter and the movements of their mouths, and I played my memory of it like a videotape in my mind.
毎度
Hello!
どうもご苦労様です。
Oh, thank you for coming.
今日も暑いですね。
It's very hot today, isn't it?
いいえいいえは今日
Oh, okay, so it's a weird stylistic way of showing that she isn't catching everything the guy is saying. But we saw the other part of his conversation. Okay. It sure is! You! Today!
ではすみません。今日もよろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you. Well, you can start whenever you're ready.
はいよろしくお願いします
Yes, we'll start right away.
これうちの事務屋から渡すように言われましたんで
My account manager told me to give this to you.
とですね。
I see.
ありがとうございます。
Is left blank on.
わあ、空欄ですね。問題ありません。
Well, there shouldn't be any problem.
はい、お預かりします。
Thank you so much. This makes me think like it would have been like a million times more funny and unfortunate if like the words that Rena was catching were the ones that were like left out. Like it would have been, it's so much more cliche, but it would have been like so funny if the words that were left out of the sentence and you take the words that she did catch were like gotta blank blank kill blank blank Rena blank and catchy blank, like something that wouldn't make much sense, but like something along those lines where the words she was catching, the only words she was catching in the conversation were like words that only that literally like somehow spelled out like or like sounded out to be like gotta kill little girl Rena or something. I don't know how it would actually, whatever. That's just where my mind's going right now.
はいそれでは
All right.
出ますんで
Oh, all right. I used the information I had to guess what was going on. I played the video again and again in my mind, and also paused it and played it in slow motion again to check many times. Then something unbelievably horrifying started to emerge. There's no doubt that they're acquainted with Chie-sensei, but I've never seen them visit the school before, so it's hard to believe that Chie-sensei is their contact. There's no doubt that they're the death squad under direct control of the Sonosaki family. They have the local accent, which proves that they were chosen from the Sonozaki Corps. The Death Squad was talking with Chie-sensei. They know each other. What's the relationship? Who's Chie-sensei anyway? Good question. Honestly, Chie, always not there in the room when shit was happening. She's not a real teacher. She doesn't care about the kids. She's a killer. She's an assassin. She's part of them. I'm with you, Rina. During the dam conflict, Hinamizawa's school was closed and it was merged with the one in Okinomiya. But the Onigafuji Guardians didn't accept that, and they made a part of the Forestry Service building into a school. But needless to say, the school they made didn't have a teacher. So, it was only going to be a token form of resistance. But a teacher who had a strong passion for education felt sorry for the children. She came to work there. That was Rumiko Chie-sensei. It was obviously strange. Teachers are government employees, and they normally belong to their prefectures. As long as they lie low and don't cause trouble, they don't get fired, and they don't get demoted. They can work up until the official retirement age, and they're guaranteed to get a fixed retirement fund. So was one of those government employees. Or she was one of those government employees, but she defied the Board of Education and came to work for Hinamizawa. The villagers admire her as a teacher of passion. That's one way of describing her. I heard that Oryu Sonozaki herself successfully negotiated with the Board of Education that suspended Chie-sensei for defying their orders. It was easy to get an answer from this by connecting the dots. Chie-sensei was recruited by Oryu Sonozaki as a teacher to work at the school the Onigafuji Guardians had created. In other words, she was already working for Oryu before she came here. As for the principal, he was a principal of the school in Hinamizawa from the beginning. He's a respected person of this region, and he's been closely associated with the three families for a long time. So, that means this school has been under the control of the Sonozaki family all along. That's why Chie-sensei is acquainted with the Death Squad. It makes sense now. Chie-sensei confirmed that I came to school today, made a phone call, and called them here. I don't want to know why she called them here. If she called them just to monitor me, they'd wait near the gate until class was over. But they came into the school premises. Why? Stop pretending to be a fool, Rina Ryugu. Do you think nothing will happen if you pretend not to notice it? Think. Think hard. Calm down, Rina Ryugu. What will they do? What will they try to do to me today in school? In school? How are they going to do anything with my classmates and friends around me? It's easy. Chie-sensei will tell me to come to the teacher's office during the last class of the day. What about my clubmates? That's easy too. Chie-sensei can easily make them go home early using her authority as a teacher. She can make up any reason she wants. Maybe the classroom is going to have carpentry work done today, so they can't stay in school.
は今日
It sure is. You. Today.
ではすみません。今日もよろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you. Well, you can start whenever you're ready. See, there's no doubt. They clearly said they're ready to do it today. And, oh, it's like almost what I was just saying. Not as direct, not as blatant, but basically. Oh my god. Okay. And what else?
はいよろしくお願いします
Yes, we'll start right away.
これうちの事務屋から渡すように言われましたんで
My account manager told me to give you this to you.
とですね。
The I see.
ありがとうございます。
Is left blank on.
は空欄ですね。問題ありません。
Well, there shouldn't be any problem.
はい、お預かりします。
Thank you so much. I see. They gave Chie-sensei an envelope and some documents in it. That blank is an eerie phrase. Was my name supposed to be in the blank? Why is it left blank? What does that mean? I told you, Rina Ryugu. Do you still think that nothing will happen if you pretend not to notice it? Stop that. So, what it must mean is that it's an order from higher up. It says to make Rina Ryugu become blank. I took a peek from the shadows and I saw the principal taking documents out from the envelope. He started reading them. He looked stern. He looked very serious. I wished I could take a peek at the documents, but I was too far away. I kept looking at him just to see if he'd react at all, and then the envelope caught my eye. The envelope said Okinogi Gardeners, and it had some numbers that looked like a phone number. Fortunately, I have good eyesight. I memorized the number. If they're a death squad, the gardening company must be a camouflage occupation. It probably doesn't even exist. Yeah, I know. I'm too good at predicting the thing. It was too obvious. I went with the cliche thing of joke thing happening, and it ended up being too true. If they're a death squad, the gardening company must be a camouflage occupation. Probably doesn't even exist. I wanted to find out. I looked for a phone. There's only one phone, and it's in the teacher's office. Fortunately, teachers were chatting in the hallway looking at the gardeners. It was now or never. I made sure nobody was watching me go into the teacher's office. I rushed in and grabbed the phone on the principal's desk. I went over the phone number in my head and dialed it up. I'm glad they have a touch tone phone. It would have been difficult if it was a rotary dial. If somebody answered, I'd only have to ask, is this the Okinogi Gardeners? I'd wait for the answer before hanging up. Should be easy. It connected. The number you dialed is... I felt a cold chill run through my body from the bottom of my feet. Wait, don't make a quick judgment. I might have remembered the number wrong. No, I know I remembered it right. It was an easy number to remember. It's impossible to remember it wrong. Then, did I dial it wrong? Her hand's like shaking as she's trying to hit the numbers. I put the phone down and started over. This time I dialed the number more slowly. Teachers might be coming back at any time. In that situation, it was risky to do anything slowly. But I needed to make absolutely sure. The number you dialed is... It's... the same. There's no doubt. The company, Okinogi Gardeners, doesn't exist. It's just a camouflage occupation for the Sonozaki family's death squad. Please make sure the number you dialed is correct. The number you dialed is... I was too stunned to put down the receiver. The announcement kept running over and over again. The voice was cold and creepy. I hung up the phone and rushed out of the teacher's office. I ran to the bathroom and held my head in an attempt to cool down. Calm down, Rina. Calm down, Rina Ryugu. Stay calm. Rina Ryugu. I wasn't safe here anymore. I too love to say my first name and last name in my head as I'm monologuing when I need to calm myself down. Calm down, Austin last name. Calm down. Don't panic. You're not freaking out. Calm down. I wasn't safe here anymore. If I stayed here, I might be erased, even in the open. They'd erase me? Why? They aren't certain that I have the scrapbooks. I told Ketchikun where I hid the scrapbooks. Yesterday, I told him I hid them in my hideout in the garbage dump. Is Ketchikun in cahoots with the Sonozaki family? Oh no! Is it gonna be where she gets so paranoid she doesn't even wait for Ketchy to go tell her that he already blabbed and doesn't believe her anymore? Is she just gonna go after him and he's gonna go after, well, not go after her, but try to stop her because like, obviously he thinks she's losing it. Also, is this, okay, so at the very beginning, there was, when fun times were happening, at the start of this chapter, what did the game describe it as? Clowning around or something? When the clowning around was happening, they did the water gun fight. And then it ended up in a draw. And then one or both of them were like talking and like, oh, we're gonna have to settle this at a later time. And at that time, I said the way that was presented, especially that early on in the chapter, felt so prophetic. It felt so, what's the word or term I'm looking for? Like setting up
something. That it felt, the way it was framed felt so like, as a literary device, felt so like it was so setting something up. And now I believe it so feels like to me, especially with how this chapter is in the direction it's heading, that maybe that is so true, and I'm so right, and I'm handsome and know everything. And that foreshadowing, thank you. God, why couldn't I think of the term foreshadowing? I know everything but the word foreshadowing, apparently. And yeah, that, it just feels like, maybe I'm a fool for thinking this, but God, does it feel so like that's where we're heading? Like, we're the clash we're potentially ending up here for was set up at the very beginning of this chapter by the water gun fight, and we're now heading in that direction somehow. Each of them trying to, Rina maybe potentially trying to just take out Kechi trying to calm down her, and it may be gonna get ugly at some point. Anyway, I felt as if my head was a pot that was cooking some dubious stew. Dubious stew, that's a good phrase. That sounds good for some reason. A dubious stew. There was only soup in my brain. I cut up clues, information, facts, just like I'd cut vegetables, and threw them into the pot. Some of them were floating on the surface, and others were on the bottom of the pot. They were being cooked in a boiling soup. No, it can't be. Kichikun is on my side. He's the only one who's on my side. He held out his hand to me at the trash piles. There is no lie in that hand. When he grabbed my wrist, I felt nothing but his strong and pure heart. He promised me he'd be on my side. Oh God. I shouldn't doubt Kichikun. He's the only one I should trust. He's the only one who is on my side right now.
ごめんごめん、ケイチ君。
I'm sorry, Kichikun.
危うく君を疑いそうになった。本当にごめんね。本当にごめんね。
I was about to doubt you. I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. I said out loud on purpose, full of regret that I doubted Kichikun, the only one who was on my side. Now that I think about it, whether I had the scrapbooks or not might not matter to them. Erase anyone who is suspicious. That's the safest way. Does that mean they're in a hurry? The day of Oishiro-sama's revival might be just around the corner, and that's why they're trying to get rid of any small fish bones that are stuck in the throat, by any means, before it's too late. We don't need her anymore. Just erase her if you're worried so much. I could easily picture Oryu Sonozaki saying that. Picture? No, she did say that. That's why they're here today. What should I do? What should I do? Should I wait until school's over? I was like a fish in a pond. No matter how many times I escaped from the net, I was in the pond, and they owned the pond. I didn't stand a chance. Then, what should I do now? I couldn't keep escaping from the net. I should get out of the pond. I didn't know how to fight them. I didn't know who's on my side. I was about to give in to despair. For now, I'd have to think about how to survive this, so I'd at least have time to think about how to fight against them. I have to get out of this pond. When I was about to leave the bathroom, one of my classmates came in. I pretended to be sick and talked to the girl while leaning on the wall.
ごめんね。私、ちょっとどうしても具合が悪くて。
I don't feel good.
早退するからって先生に伝えておいてくれないかな。
I think I better go home. Can you tell Chie-sensei I left school early? I shouldn't let Chie-sensei know that I'm leaving school early if I'm trying to run away from them. But if I didn't, they might think I ran away without cause. I might lead them to chase after me without mercy. If that happens, I don't stand a chance. They were planning to capture me after school is over, but I happened to feel sick and left school early. If they took it that way, they wouldn't think that I noticed the noose tightening around me. I was about to go back to the classroom to get my bag, but I changed my mind and turned around. I didn't need my bag anymore. I realized nobody was watching me, so I stopped pretending to be sick and started running. Good job, Rina.
Chie-sensei, ここがおかしいですぞ。
Chie-sensei, take a look at this.
おかしい？
Take a look.
ど
うかなさいましたか？
Is something wrong with the documents? Yes.
見積書と請求書の日付が空欄になっておりますぞ。
The date on the quote and the invoice are left blank.
ここは今日の日付ではないのですかな？
They're supposed to put today's date here.
ああ、そこはお役所の都合らしいんです。
Oh, they wanted to leave them blank.
見積書の日付と請求書の日付が同じだと、なんだか都合が悪いそうで。
They said they couldn't put the same date on the quote and the invoice.
庶務係さんから空欄にするようよく念を押されています。
They're told to leave them blank by general affairs. Okay then.
あとそれから請求書に書いてある電話番号と封筒に書いてある電話番号が違っていますぞ。
And this phone number on the invoice is different from the one on the envelope.
どちらが正しいのですかな？
Do you know which one is correct, or which is the correct one?
あらやだ、本当ですね。
Oh, I didn't notice that.
社長さん。
Hello? Excuse me?
はい。
Yes?
どうしましたね。
What's the matter?
請求書に書いてある電話番号と封筒の電話番号が違ってますけど、どちらが正しいのですか？
The phone number on the invoice is different from the one on the envelope. Which one is correct?
あ
Oh.
請求書の方の電話番号が正しいんで大丈夫ですね。
It's the one on the invoice.
先代の事務所の時の封筒がまだだいぶ余ってたもんなんで、それに入れてきてまったんですわ。
I used the old envelope we used to use at our former office.
すんませんね。
Sorry about that.
バイトの子に全部新しい番号のハンコを押しとくように言ったんだけどな。
Told our part-timer to add a stamp with the new phone number, but I guess she forgot. Now, seemingly this is an explanation as to why the number Rena saw on the envelope was not working. But for a second, I thought something nefarious was happening. But I'm going to stick with believing that this is now an explanation as to why the number she was definitely remembering.
すんまへんすんまへん。
She saw it
消して
correctly,
おいてもらえますかね。
but it's a bad number. I apologize for the confusion. Can you just erase the number? I'm gonna fire that intern who was supposed to stamp or whatever. Good thing just a harmless phone number being incorrect isn't gonna cause any problems, right? We're so lucky, right? Another takeout list. The danger of a culture-bound syndrome lies in the fact that it can easily trigger delusional misidentification syndrome. That is to say, in the current case, every time the patient sees something trivial, she tries to interpret it as a curse. And it's believed that as a result of the accumulation of these events in an understandable form, a delusional system is created, ultimately leading to paranoia. Furthermore, the patient is also exhibiting slight signs of a personality disorder. Of course, it's at a very mild level, and it's not causing any hindrance whatsoever to the patient's daily life. It's common for even healthy individuals to have primary delusions in their daily lives, but they usually ignore it automatically without recognition, since those delusions are nonsensical. However, there are cases where these delusions accumulate despite being incomprehensible. It largely depends on the particular characteristics of the individual, and it's believed that the patient shows relatively strong characteristics in this area. I believe you're very much aware that primary delusions are categorized into 3 different kinds. Delusional mood is the feeling of impending crisis without basis. Delusional intuition is the feeling of a sense of duty or goal without basis. Delusional perception is the feeling of a baseless cause against a baseless target. In the patient's case, it's believed that these incomprehensible delusions accumulated act out simultaneously with the culture-bound syndrome, which triggered a delusional misidentification syndrome, and it ultimately caused the incomprehensible delusions to become understandable by interpreting them as a curse. The comprehensible delusional system induces understandable secondary delusions, further strengthening the patient's delusional system with the passage of time. The delusional parasitosis mentioned earlier can be considered a secondary delusion.
A common factor of all these cases of paranoia is that even after an outbreak, they still appear perfectly normal with no change in their personalities. The patients are unaware of their own ailments, and due to their personal interpretations of their delusional system, there are many cases where patients arm themselves logically, making it extremely difficult for a third party to point out that they're having a delusion. Furthermore, although it may depend on the tendency of the delusions, there are also cases where a persecutory delusion turns into a pursuit delusion or a conspiracy delusion, resulting in the patient creating an imaginary enemy and taking up antisocial behavior. For example, there are cases where believers of a religious cult were deeply influenced by the cult's founders' paranoid visions, which shifted the group into a conspiracy delusion, and that made them conduct antisocial behavior in the name of self-defense. Although no such cases have been reported in Japan yet, could very well happen in the near future. Fortunately, the patient hasn't reached that serious condition as of now. With proper treatment, she should be able to make a full recovery. Please make sure that her father also understands that this is not an unusual case, but something caused by the accumulation of a number of innocent factors that anyone could have. The patient can be treated only by deepening her bond with her father. As long as she has that bond, she can certainly be treated. For the reasons above, if the patient is to return to her home village, I strongly recommend that the patient continue to receive guidance from specialized medical institutions. Please excuse me for writing such a long letter. Thank you for reading this until the very end. Also, 3 burgers, 2 large fries, and a milkshake. Written on the back, of course. Just a silly mistake. Yeah. There will be no consequences from the wrong phone number. Don't you worry. Don't you worry a dang little thing. Alright, let's call it a night. A nice night there. It's terrible. This is not going to end well. Again, I'll re-say it. I feel like the beginning description of this chapter led us astray. There was not much clowning around. There was just tiny hints of clowning around and fun times, and then immediately went bad. So, I'm feeling let down by the chapter description. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed. Let's see. We'll be back tomorrow. Not Higurashi, of course. I think we'll check out another hour or so of Zenless Zone Zero. We'll start doing a couple of those kinds of streams again throughout the week. And then we'll check out the Talos Principle DLC. We'll do it for a stream. See if it's worth sticking out to the end. What do I think Rina is going to do now? At the very end, Rina seemed like she was immediately gonna like turn on, like not even wait for Akechi to go against her, and she was just gonna seek him out. Like it was seeming like it was gonna go that bad. Then at the very end, she's like, no, we held hands, we put hands together, we touched hands, we touched little hands at the dump site. We're friends, we're cool. But then that immediately makes me think, okay, easy. He is going to her. He is going to go to her and say, we need to rethink what's happening. And I think she is in such a fragile state now that it is going to set her up over the top. And she is essentially in her brain going to see it basically as her against the world. Basically, her against everyone in Hinamizawa, including people she considered a friend. So I think it's going to be and as we've seen, she is in this chapter at least not afraid of killing people. I think that's an important factor here. We've seen that she is very content and very able and capable of doing big things like that. So her going after Kechi and the others potentially very much on the table, I would say. I think that's what's gonna. I think I'm almost dead set thinking that that's kind of what we're
this chapter is leading up to is, in some shape or fashion, a final showdown of somehow between the two of them, Rina and Kechi. In some fashion, that's what it's going to be, I think. Whether that's with words or physically fighting, or they get their water guns and go as they pump the pressure, and then maybe they duel with maybe real guns. I don't know, any kind of weapon. I think that's what we're leading towards. That's my answer. I'm sticking to it. I guess we'll see Saturday, though. I'll be back Saturday night with Higurashi for sure. Again, of course, unless something weird happens. Sickness. Something of that nature. Something pops up. Always possible. But, as of right now, plan Saturday night. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Stay safe. Stay well. Have a nice rest of your Tuesday night. Have a great Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow. Should be back on tomorrow. Probably, well, it's actually, there's a small chance I just misstream tomorrow, but the plan as of right now is to be on tomorrow night as well. Until then, stay safe, stay well. Bye.